Make your next event unforgettable with Ruby's Mexican Restaurant Catering. Our fully staffed food truck brings the flavor to you, serving our famous doblados or any meal you choose. We offer a complete catering lineup perfect for corporate events, weddings, and holiday parties. Book today at events@rubysfoodtruck.com or call 903-871-7829, option 0. Ruby's, authentic flavor, catered your way.
Emphasizing that immigration authority is restricted to specialized task force targeting transitional gangs, human trafficking, or major narcotics rather than just normal traffic violations. Why do agencies participate? It enhances communication between local and federal authorities, supports public safety efforts, and provides training and valuable experience for local police officers, provides a structured process instead of informal interactions, resources and funding support federal and state programs like the 287G model, frequently provide local departments with monetary support and reimbursements and equipment, new vehicles, and helps departments maintain a high service levels without burdening the local taxpayers. Only specifically designated officers receive the additional training and authority. The program operates within the framework of federal law, agency policies, and constitutional protections. This gives an officer a tool to use when trying to identify a person with no ID, either on a traffic stop or on a call of service. It also gives the chance for officers to work with other East Texas local law enforcement agencies and federal partners. What would the 287 do not do? We will not allow officers to stop someone solely because of their appearance, ethnic, or language or national origin. Patrol officers do not conduct immigration sweep, stop people to check papers, to check status during routine traffic stops. We do not remove the constitutional protections. We do not replace normal policy procedures. And we are not given unlimited immigration enforcement authority. And there's one thing that we won't do. We will not go into schools or churches. It's an important part of understanding the program is knowing its limits. The program does not change our commitment or fair and impartial policing. We remain bound by the Constitution, including protections against unlawful searches and seizures, the requirement for reasonable suspicion or probable cause of applicant. It does not give the officers authority to stop or interrogate anyone just based on race. The public safety focus. Partnership focus on lawful information sharing and defined responsibility. The cooperation happens almost entirely at the jail level, and a person has already been arrested for a local criminal offense. Routinely, community policing and neighborhood safety patrols remain separate from federal immigration actions. Our primary mission remains protecting life and investigating, preventing crime, and protecting victims in the city of Brownsboro. There are firewalls in place if you are afraid to call the police. Dispatch will not ask your citizenship, nor will an officer, when he comes to your house, ask you for your citizenship or paper. We are there strictly for a crime and to protect the victim. Now, I just want to remind everybody that there's already has been policies enacted by the state of Texas, especially Senate Bill 4, which actually gives local and state police officers permission to arrest a misdemeanor for illegal entry into the state of Texas, and it gives prosecution also to prosecute those. Then there's also Senate Bill 8, which commanded every jail and sheriff's office in the state of Texas to become part of the 287 program. And if you go onto the website that I have them out there, some information, you can go on the website and see what agency in East Texas, and there's about 11 of them just here in East Texas that we're on. But I can assure you that every jail, the sheriff's department is part of it. What does the 287 mean for the community of Brownsboro? The Brownsboro Police Department's primary mission, and has been, remains unchanged: to protect and serve every single person living in the city limits. Our partnership with federal law enforcement is focused strictly on public safety, violent crime, and removing dangerous offenders from our streets. This framework is not about altering routine community policing or conducting random sweeps in the city of Brownsboro. The Brownsboro Police Department's primary mission has changed: to protect and serve every person living in this town. Our partnership with federal law enforcement is focused strictly on the public safety of the violent crime. So, basically, we will be going out and doing warrant sweeps. What the 287 does is we go out with other task force that immigration already has criminal warrants on, and we will help them obtain them. So, I know there's going to be a question about traffic stops. Do we stop a lot of illegal immigrants that come through the Brownsboro? Yes. We have Highway 31 that can travel through here. And our policy has not changed, nor it's going to be changed. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, citizen, or non-citizen, they are all treated the same. They're either given a citation, not a court, take care of it. At most, we might impound their vehicle because you do have to have insurance and registration. But to take you to jail for a driver's license, no. Because that's not how we view our citizens, and we do it that way all the time. Now, if during that traffic stop there are drugs in the car or other anything else, the person's under influence, that person's going to be arrested anyway. Same with the citizens; they're not going to be treated any different. I'm not looking to go out here because there are 70,000 people that travel through the city of Brownsboro. All I want to do is get our officers to work with other law enforcement agencies, get the training from the federal government, and help out the city of Brownsboro. How is it going to help out the city of Brownsboro? Well, it does have some economic incentives because, yes, once we get into the program, they do give us money. They pay for a new vehicle, and they also pay for equipment every quarter for every officer that is signed up. Now, I've only been chief here in the city for a year and a half, but I've had very strong ties with the city of Brownsboro. I worked here a long time ago as an officer, and I lived in the city limits. My kids went to school and graduated from Brownsboro. I was the chief of school, the police school district for many years. I have seen most of these kids grow up. I'm not out here to change the community. I've seen an opportunity to make the department better, which I strive to do when I asked Zach to take the job. And that's all I intend to do. And with the help of the city council and the mayor, I have done just that. I've been able to provide the officers with new equipment instead of broken stuff. I've been able to get the officers raises, which enhances the quality of officers that we have. Instead of the revolving door that Brownsboro has had with officers coming and going, we get a better quality officer and they get to stay longer. Now, I know there's a lot of anxiety just because of what you see on the news. And I'm telling you, Brownsboro was not going to be like that. Like I said, the officers are going to go out with the task force. that people that already have criminal warrants on. I'm not knocking on people's doors, I'm not stopping people almost out of the law. That's not how we operate now, and that's not how we're gonna operate. So, now I'd like to talk about a little bit about misinformation, because there has been a lot of misinformation out there concerning the Brownsboro Police Department and some of our things. So I'm going to take a brief moment to share with an issue that personally happened to me, which highlights why doing your own research and getting factual, unbiased information is so important. There is a lot of information out there, and I urge you to serve your source and that are reliable and reputable. I was recently accused of retaliatory conduct by 2 community members through a formal complaint process. It alleged that I worked for Big Sandy Police Department as their chief. We committed acts of retaliatory conduct. And after a quick online search, I was able to quickly ascertain where that information came from, as I have never been employed in any capacity with the city of Big Sandy. I found out there was an individual whose last name was Scott, and he was the former chief of Big Sandy PD, and his full name is Tim Scott. And he was back initially accused of retaliatory conduct. The whole ordeal can be searched online and very easily, and I won't go into the details of the case, but I urge you to look it up, Norman versus Big Sandy, City of Big Sandy. The formal complaint was inaccurate, and the defamatory information was submitted to TPO, the mayor, and the city council. The integrity of any complaint process depends on accurate factual reporting and the proper identification of individuals. In this instance, one can only conclude that the incorrect identification was made intentionally and with reckless disregard for the truth. As a current former police officer, these individuals understand the importance of thorough investigation. It is not difficult to verify through public records, department records, or just reasonable inquiry before sending a formal complaint. Complaints alleging misconduct should be supported by objective facts, accurate identification of the individuals involved in cooperating evidence, none of which were ever completed by said individuals. Why does my situation matter? It matters because it calls those individuals' character into question. I'm urging you to be careful where you allow your information to come from and to gain factual information in an unbiased manner. It is crucial to understanding information. Please do your own research through reputable sites, and I have provided some tips on how to access reputable information in the handout if you want that I have up here. And I am free to take questions.
Okay. I think the first hand I saw was Mark's, so. Mark.
A couple of weeks ago, me and you had a conversation and you told me you were applying for a grant. A couple of weeks ago, you told me in a conversation that you were applying grants to the Justice Department. Is being in this program a prerequisite to getting that grant?
When I was going over the grant process, it did say that it gives you preferential treatment if you were involved in the 287P program or going to participate in it. So yes, it does give you, because the grant comes from the Department of Justice, which is also a part of the Department of Homeland Security.
Has your department, or do you know that the federal immigration thing has found that there is illegal drug, human trafficking in the city of Brownsboro that is a concern to this community?
I didn't say we were all,
I said, have you guys have any evidence that that is in our community?
not that I know of.
Okay, thank you.
We're just gonna I guess we're just gonna work our way back, so everybody's gonna get a chance to, so.
I'm going to give most of mine as comment. My name's Belinda Roy. I'm an immigration community here in Texas, grew up in Texas. So I appreciate you doing this actually as a town hall to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions. One of my many questions that I have for you is, there's a memorandum of agreement that you will have to sign. Has that been provided to the city council? Have you reviewed that memorandum of agreement? And what type of agreements it will require for you to sign out on? Have you become familiar with that?
Yeah, I looked at the MOU. I haven't provided it to the city council yet because, this is just a town hall, to start the process. I've reviewed it and it does state that at any time that I feel, the need, I can continue to the MOU.
In reviewing the NOA, have you gone over in particular, what you will be limited to sharing as a part of the Public Information Act in terms of the stops that you make, of the public? I know that you're publicly here stating that a part of the task force is not doing traffic stops, not doing traffic violations. And when I give my statement, I would like to point out to you, and I appreciate, it sounds like most of the information you got was from ICE in terms of what they're doing, but I'd like you to hear from us, in particular, what we're actually seeing on the ground in terms of the task force. Have you reviewed what they will allow you to actually disclose as public information? So if a traffic stop happens and immigration gets involved because you're on a traffic task force, and then they arrest somebody for having no driver's license, which you're seeing every day in Texas under these 287G agreements. And that is, something that you say you're not going to do, but when you become a part of the task force, that is being done, and that's not your choice. That's going to be the task force federal agents that are going to be doing that. And then when we ask them to disclose that, you know they're going to be able to disclose that under the MOA, under the memorandum of agreement.
Well, again, I did read that, and anything that, or open information that has to go through them first. But I can tell you this, the federal government is not going to come into Brownsboro. They're not going to tell me how to run my department.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, because, yeah, the feds are.
And if I can, I'm just going to share this with you and with the city council. This is actually a daughter's request I did to Vic Sandy, chief of police, after a traffic stop in which she refused to provide us documents, a regular traffic stop, in which somebody was actually taken into custody. To this day, I've not been able to get a single document from the chief of police because he's been impeded by the federal government from providing even the most basic documents regarding that stop in the time. And so I'm going to provide you what he said, which is basically the federal government told him he cannot provide any information. So under that, how are we going to have accountability at a local level for these people for you to be able to follow through on what we're saying if you were going to be basically impeded by the federal government?
Well, I've already talked with other chiefs as well. And they run their cities how they see fit. And they send out their officers to the task force. And I've already said that the Brownsville Police Department is not going to do immigration on traffic. We haven't done it, and we're not going to continue to do it. And they don't have to they can't make us do it.
And like I said, I understand what they're telling you. I'm just telling you in practice, and like I said, I'm going to provide you this because, as you said, this information, if you only get your information from one person or from one agency, you don't get to see the whole picture. So I understand that they're doing this, and I applaud them for doing this. And this is a hard thing to do, and I applaud the community for being out here to also be able to ask you questions. And a lot of people haven't done that. A lot of city councils haven't done that. They've been this kind of back door. And so I do appreciate you being willing to take a peek, but I do ask you to be open that maybe some of the misinformation is coming is from one side, it's going to be what they're going to do. And I'm asking you just to review the stuff that we're telling you, because you may be getting into a partnership that you're not really fully you're not going to honor what you say. So I just ask you to review these documents and city council as well, because we've been working in the community under these 287G agreements for close to a year now, and we're seeing how they're going to practice. And I'm just telling you, you're not getting the full story. I know that that's not your fault because obviously you're not part of the program, but I'm telling you, I've been working with, seeing a lot of agencies, and that's just not true.
Right. And there are agencies out there and that I know that are actually doing the 287 program in the city and doing the traffic stops. And there's also cities that are not doing that and they're going around with the pass through. So you do have an option.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Riley. So when I was for Texas Jail Project, so we have first seen firsthand because it was my sheriff the first time in 287G agreement. And Senate Bill 8 actually mandates sheriffs to have a population over 100,000. So that means that chiefs of police are not mandated to sign an agreement with 287G or with ICE. But also, we have also been the organization that has done all these open records, including Smith County and all the surrounding counties, and I've also submitted to an open records request. And in that open records request, you replied back that you didn't have any records, or you have not had any conversations in relation to 287G, but you just said that you did fill out a grant that did have a question that did pertain to 287G. So if you did fill out a grant and did have a question that is related to 287G, then that is subject to open records. And there was a second part to my open records request that you did not reply back to, but I'm assuming that you will reply within the 10 business days. But my question is that you said you have read the MOU. So here's the most concerning part about task force model. Task force model is the most egregious model that there is in regards to 287G. Just simply the first bullet, if city council members and mayors haven't read it, the power and authority to interrogate any alien or person believed to be an alien as his right to remain in the United States. How can an officer make that determination if they believe? So that is the most concerning part about the task force model. Is simply that bullet, and so I would encourage, if I can email everyone a copy of the MOU that already exists, that you can find that also on the ICE website, but that should be concerning for the city council members in your meeting.
Isn't that about basic Senate Bill 4, where it gives the police officer of multiple state to ask about immigration status?
So how would an officer believe that someone's here unlawfully? Are we going to be asking everyone across the board that? Is your officer going to, because that is in bullet number 1 in this MOU that exists with 287G, the freedom.
Well, I've already reiterated several times that we are not going to do traffic enforcement for immigration here in the city of Brownsboro. Now, I'm going to answer your question also on the grant. I didn't fill out the grant. I was reading the grant. I haven't even got through page 2 yet. So no, I don't have any documentation. So
any documents that you need, or you email, or you email to other officers or the council members, they're all subject to open records requests. Any conversations you have, like phone calls, text message, because there is a state law mandate. Any of those conversations, whether it's written, by text, phone call, are subject to open records. So if any of those have been made, I hope that you will fulfill those open records requests to us. But it does say that like I said, you don't get to decide what role you're going to play in these 287 agreements, because if you read further down, immigration will also terminate that agreement if you don't fulfill what they ask them to do.
I don't have any questions. I just have a statement that I would like to consider. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Vanessa, and I am here today to ask you to vote no on the proposed 287G agreement. Before you ask this town to take on the responsibilities of federal immigration enforcement, you owe this community an answer to one basic question. What problem in Brownsboro does this agreement actually solve? I have not heard of any evidence that our town is facing an immigration-related public safety crisis. I have not seen data that shows our police lack the authority to arrest people who commit crimes. If someone breaks the law, our officers already have the tools to do their job. So why are we being asked to expand their role into one that belongs to the federal government? You were being asked to sign this with little to no research behind it. In his own email, our police chief asked Brownsboro to take one more responsibility, more liability, and more controversy without demonstrating a clear local benefit. That is not responsible governance. Every dollar the city spends defending a profiling lawsuit is a dollar pulled out of our schools, our roads, and the public safety we actually need. Towns across this country that signed on to the 287G have been sued over exactly the profiling it invites. When Brownsboro gets sued, it's the taxpayers in this room who are going to pay for it. The 287G, not because of an immigration program that this town has, but because of a decision that this council is about to make with our money. I know that this council includes people who are in this country, and I know what this service is supposed to mean: structure, discipline, accountability, not speed, not rubber stamping a program because it sounds tough. I ask you to hold this decision to the same standard your service stands for. Our officers should be preventing crime, responding to emergencies, and serving the people of Brownsboro, not filling a role Congress assigned to the federal government, and not doing it on the strength of one's agency's own promotional material. Before you vote, I ask everyone to consider not what this agreement promises, but what it actually changes. If the answer is that it asks our town to take on more responsibility, more risk, more liability, and more division, then without a clear problem to solve and without research to justify it, the responsible vote is no. Thank you.
No. Yes, so there are 4 models to this program. Do you know what those are? There are 4 models of the program. Do you know what those are?
So only interested in one, that's the passport.
The only reason you're interested in it is because it's the only one qualified for it.
Exactly.
So it's not payment, that's the only one interested in it. The task force model this agency is requesting to participate in gives even more power and more responsibility than the Henderson County Sheriff's Office is willing to take on, as HCSO only participates in the warrant service officer model in this program. Do you know what that means? Can you explain that to me?
Yes, they serve warrants.
While they're incarcerated, already in jail. You, sir, are only qualified for the task force model of this. Do you know what that definition is of that program? No, you don't? Okay, well, I'll let you know. So the program allows us to train, certify, and authorize state, local law enforcement officers to serve and execute administrative warrants on people in their agency's jail, but it also, sorry, here, I'm going to switch over to the, and then just for record, since we're, talking about resources, NPR.org is very helpful. You guys can go check that out. The task force model, officers can stop, question, and make arrests for immigration violations. DHS says an officer with approval from an ICE supervisor conducts an ICE arrest, an immigration violation, and transfers the alien to an unapproved location. Where would that be, sir?
That'd be the Henderson County Jail.
Yes, sir, we're already taking care of that. I wonder why you have a business unit. So you want to talk about
The program, I did an open records request there with you, sir, when you never responded to. Why did you never respond to my open records request about the exact definition of what we're getting ourselves into here?
Because I have 10 days.
You do, you do.
All right, then.
I'll anticipate hearing from you then in a few more days. Either way, if our county isn't even participating in a model that this a level of responsibility and liability, why would we allow UPD to do that? Outside of other sheriff's departments among East Texas, the one you referenced earlier, the website showing what departments are signed on. The only other police department within that list is Big Sandy. You're talking about sheriff's departments with jails that are signed on to that program. There's one other police department. Did you know that?
No, no.
Well, the list that I'm referring to is 22 local East Texas ones, and there's one police department. And within that, the only one that is signed on outside of or outside of other sheriff's departments is Big Sandy.
You're incorrect.
Well,
There's a city of R,
that's on it.
there's a city of Troop, there's a city of Bull,
No.
there's a city
Well,
of.
we're looking at two different lists. But what I'm trying to say
It's
here
going
is
straight from
earlier,
the ICE website.
earlier you were referring to other agencies that are signing on to this program, and you mentioned that, and even the literature you passed out to everyone here mentions that it gives it requires take the sheriffs. You're not a sheriff, sir. Also, it says the mandate applies to sheriffs of counties that operate a jail or contract with a vendor for operating jail. You don't fit that description either.
Nope.
Chief, I have two questions for you. Please give me one scenario using this task force model to start to finish on how you or one of your officers without racial profiling would use this model to effectively participate in this process.
Well, I think we've already covered that. I said that we go out with the task force. There's one out in Stitt County that we can attach ourselves to, that go out after criminal law.
Give me the scenario, please, specifically.
I just gave you a scenario, going out with the task force.
So you're going to get called, taken away from Brownsboro, where you serve, to go to Smith County?
No, it would be all the days off.
Oh, on your days off, so this program is paying for your overtime for your days
Yes,
off?
it does. It does.
So that's what this is about then. And now, we got some answers, y'all, finally.
Oh, thank you. That you did good.
You never mentioned the overtime you're talking about.
And I said it would benefit the community.
That benefits you and your officers. That takes away from the city of Brownsboro, which, by the way, on your website, it still shows the Henderson County Sheriff's Department is taking calls for you guys whenever there's unavailable officers.
No, it doesn't.
During the week, yes, it does. Actually, it's your Facebook
It
page.
gives you that's the number you call.
When
When,
you're not available.
yes, when we're not here, so we get dispatched.
So are you saying that there's 24/7 coverage right now for the Brownsboro Police Department? Exactly.
We do have on call.
You have
My
on call.
my officers do get called out,
They get called out, but there's not someone patrolling Brownsboro 24/7.
nor has there been in the
But
last
let's
15 years.
But let's attach to Smith County and go take care of business over there on our days off. That makes no sense. How many grants have you applied for with your department that you're eligible for right now outside of this program? And if none, why not?
Well, I've been here a year.
How long does it take you to write a grant with ChatGPT, sir?
Grants are only available at a certain time, and I just got one from the DOJ that I'm trying to do.
Trying and doing are two different things. How many grants have you applied for emergency services? You just got approved for a vehicle serve and another position. Did you even attempt a grant? Was there anything on paper? It's a yes or no question.
No,
Why not?
I haven't had time.
You heard it here, folks. He has not had time, but we're going to take time to go to Smith County and enforce 287G. Lastly, Mayor, in a previous meeting, that should the chief not receive a blessing from this city council to participate in this program, that it wouldn't happen. I'd like to take this opportunity, council, to direct your attention to this room right here.
Look around. Consider this your formal reminder of your vote, your blessing, is not your own. You took an oath to be the voice of the people of this town. Look around, y'all. Hold those signs back up, y'all. You took an oath to be the voice of the people of this town. Look at this. That is an oath. And I hope you'll remember that you're supposed to speak for these people, not your own choices and opinions based on what he says. Thank you.
I just have a quick question, maybe two. You said only certain officers will receive training. Who decides who those certain officers are, at whose discretion, and will that be how?
That would be up to me and ICE to have to be clearance through ICE and have the certification through them.
How many would you hope to be able to get certified and include through that?
The whole department.
Thank you.
So, council, thank you. First of all, thank you for putting this together. Okay. My name is Hector Garza. I'm a former Smith County Democratic chairman. I'm the president of the Estados Mexicanos Unidos of North America, and I'm also running for Congress right here in the 5th District, right in front of us. To be the next Congressman. But I'll tell you what, I'm the man who sits up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with my colleagues, and I and other people, community leaders, to get the calls because one police officer pulled over the father and they just disrupted the family. Why? It wasn't because 70% of the people being detained are criminals. 70% of the people being detained have no criminal convictions or records at all. And yet 68% of them are being held in detention centers or have been deported, forcibly having them sign over and saying, hey, you can volunteer deportation if you want, or you can sit here for a year or two until you get a court hearing. Well, I'm damned. I would have left a long time ago instead of sitting in jail for a long time. Appreciate your looking into this, but there's something they're not telling you, Chief. Before I get to that, I'm going to ask you a simple question. In the last year, how many Hispanic, Latino, criminal, violent criminals have you run into in Brownsboro? I mean, just right off in ballpark, 2, 3, 1, 50.
No violence.
Okay. All right. Here's what you will run into now. Being part of ICE, you will be asked to call them in. Let's double check. Let's make sure. Call in their name. When you call in their name right now, somebody who doesn't have a driver's license, what do, sir? Officers, do y'all just write a ticket? You write a ticket, correct? Okay.
You issue a ticket, and then if the court is available, you're taken before the judge.
That, sir, that option is gone now. The minute you call in, they become 70% of the people that are detained without bail, without bond. The minute ICE grabs them and you call them in just to double check the way ICE has instructed you to, they have an immigration hold for them. And we know this because we go to the dealer, we get the calls, and we try to bond it out, and they say, no, immigration hold on.
So I do understand that anything that you could be arrested for, be it a traffic citation, turn signal, you go to jail for, you're automatically get detained. We don't, and we would not be contacting ICE on traffic stop.
Sir, when they come in here and they give you the training and everything else, do you think that the federal government for 1 minute is going to come in here and give you free money and say, oh, you don't have to participate in this. You don't have to call in their names. The federal government is giving you a ton of money, and there's a reason they're giving you a ton of money. Because, as somebody just put it, we want 2,000 arrests a day. Y'all know who just said that? It's 2,000 arrests a day. Illegal aliens. These are the same illegal aliens that have been here on a DACA, that have been here trying to get citizenship in this country for a government, for people like me when I get in there that can't get their crap together, for congressmen, for Republicans and Democrats that cannot sit down at a table and figure something out to fix our broken system. Now we're expecting police officers to do this. Now we're expecting sheriff's offices, constables to do this. And what are we getting in return? We're getting the names like Salgado. We're getting people slammed to the concrete with their faces broken, with deaths upon us. And what was it worth? Was it worth the $100,000 that you got in the grant? Was it worth the lawsuit that's coming your way? Maybe you didn't do it, but your officers were part of it and they were sitting there when I done it. So who gets sued? The city of Brownsboro. The individual police officers are being sued. Is it worth it? Is Brownsboro broke? Are we a struggling community? Poor. We're poor, but we've made it. We've made it one way or the other. We've made it. And I promise this isn't going to be a make or break deal for the community. It can be a break deal, let me tell you. And the money may come in. But Brooke, I want to ask you something, Adam. Do you have any Hispanic friends in this community? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you have a Hispanic friend in this community. Somewhere down the line, somebody will be detained. And it's going to be the abuelita, it's going to be the sobrino, the nephew, it's going to be that one father that the whole family's depended on for the last 20 years to support this family. And then we're going to have the guilty conscience of having to look at that family, look at them kids, and say, hey, this is 27 task force. You have a community that strives, it's been in peace and harmony for a long time. Look at what's going on. Look at Smith County. Smith County government. Wasn't very long after that when Sheriff Larry Smith had a press conference. And so, they seen what it was doing to the community. It's inevitable. Sir, it is inevitable. As good, as honest as your intentions may be, it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and it's going to damage families in this community. I've gone around speaking throughout Texas at town halls, at commissioners' courts, at council meetings, and I've run into them time and time again. And then I go back to double check on this. I go back to talk to the chiefs. I go back to talk to them. And they say, damn, if we'd have known this, that's the number one thing I hear. If we'd have known this, because you're not being told the whole story. The money's good, it looks good, everything looks great, but you're not being told the story. You're not being told how to destroy lives. You're not being told how it's going to destroy the community, how the mistrust. A girl in Oklahoma, raped 3 times by 4 white boys. Her parents refused to report it because they were afraid of being deported. These are the things that have come into this community. I applaud Dallas, I applaud Houston, and by God, I applaud White House, Texas. They are the same community, they are striving, they are doing good without the federal government money. Please consider this when this comes up to vote. Look at the families, look at the friends, look at your community. There's no amount of money that's worth tearing the community and tearing these families apart. I thank you.
I have a question about, you're talking about the traffic stop. So is that not, so we're not part of 287 now. So if one of our officers calls in the name now, how would that change us being on the 287 versus not? Because we're still calling the names in now, right? So if they wanted to say, no, put a hold on, could they not already do that?
If you've read them, go ahead.
If you don't, this is a few things that I did want to cover. mine. So I have been working in the Texas community for the last 10 or 15 years. Like I said, I grew up here, went away to Texas Tech Law School, started doing immigration, and under this administration, we've seen the 287G agreements basically spread across East Texas. So every day you hear the kinds of stops that are happening in the 287G task force. So what happened is that when the 287G task force came to town, they partnered. And yes, there is already a task force in East Texas, has been right over here, based out of Athens, Texas for a long time. So what has happened in the past is that chiefs of police would, if they arrested somebody, they'd go to jail, whether that's in Smith County Jail, Henderson County Jail. Most of them already had something called a jail model, which Smith County had as well. Meaning, if you really care about having criminals out of your community, as soon as you arrest them and they go to jail, ICE is called. It's not broken. It's already being done. What ICE is trying to sell to communities is what they call a force multiplier. They want to turn your local police departments into an extension of ICE because it's cheaper for them to give you guys a little bit of money instead of having to police at a federal level. So yes, that's correct. However, what we are seeing in action, and this is just true every day, I can show you, I'm happy to show you actual examples of this, and this is why I say, Chief, with all due respect, you're being sold a fantasy. It's just not true. When it came to Smith County, we had a mother of 5 kids who was arrested at the 287G task force. The sheriff didn't want to arrest her. The commissioners weren't happy with her arrest. In fact, they contacted ICE, their local partner, and said, hey, you know what? This is not somebody that we expected that you guys would be arresting, and they released her. No, they didn't. She spent 5 months in jail. She went all over the state of Texas. She had no criminal history, separated from her kids until federal court has stepped in and finally released her. When we're talking about service members, there's something that's never talked about. And that is that, you know how many service members are in the military today with parents who are undocumented? It's a lot. Look it up. I work with their families all the time. They shouldn't have to go serve our country and be worried about local police departments pulling them over for traffic violations. And so if the chief is really concerned, and I believe that he is, about criminals, he's already got those tools at his disposal. When you get embedded with the federal government, you will abide by the regulations. I guarantee you. Look at the email. Even if that chief doesn't want to give those documents, he won't. He's been told not to. Look up all of the stuff that's happening in 287G. Talk to your local communities. When it came to Smith County, that's what we saw. What we're seeing right now, currently in Cherokee County, I have a mom of 8 kids. You know why she was pulled over? Because they said one of her brake lights wasn't working. And not the whole brake light, just like the third brake light. I didn't even know there was a third brake light. But apparently there's several lights, and one of them wasn't working. You know where she was going that day? She was going to pick up her son, who's autistic, from school, who she didn't have any other life. She had 0 criminal history, 8 kids. And you know what happened? Local law enforcement, Cherokee County, pulled her over, told her, oh, your brake light's out. Or one of your little brake lights is out. And then kept her on the side of the road for 45 minutes while they called ICE, their task force partners, and they came and they interviewed her and they took her into custody. And it took us almost a month, and only because the 10th Circuit Court appeal up in Oklahoma recently ruled that she could get on, or she'd be still sitting in ICE detention today. Those are our community members. Most of the people that we're seeing that are being detained or in traffic violations with the task force, and I understand, Chief, that you say that you're not going to do it, but you said you're going to be working with the task force, and they do it. I guarantee you, if you don't believe me, I can give you real life examples, and that's why I'm here. I drove all the way from my office in Dallas. I have an office in Tyler because I want you to hear this today. It's not true. And I can give you real life examples. When the task force gets involved, they will arrest anybody and everybody. Because it is true, they want to meet their quota, and the way they're doing that is they're calling you force multipliers. The local police departments are what they call force multipliers. And they will not abide by what the chief wants to do. They will do what they want to do. And that's what they're doing. So, yes, the chief of police already has the tools necessary to police Brownsboro. He already has the tools. If somebody comes up, I'm sure, do you have a contact with ICE right now that you can contact if you believe you need to contact somebody?
Yes, I do.
That already exists. So when you bring the 287G task force, we encourage y'all to look at that contract. It's a contract. And what's surprising to me is I've never seen East Texas so wanting to get embedded with federal government. I don't care who's winning. When you get embedded with federal government and all the regulations and all the things that go with it, you will be beholden to the man. And that is something that the money will not be worth. Trust me. So I would encourage you all to look at what you're going to be getting yourselves into, because as I believe that you believe that's what's going to happen, that when it comes to town, you will see that that's not what's going to happen. And yes.
When you were talking about public information act requests earlier, you're saying as a lawyer, you did a public information act request about.
No, correct.
You were not granted that information
That is correct.
about your funds.
That is correct. Because what we're seeing in practice is, let's say chief of police pulls somebody over, his officer decides to call ICE. What we have started seeing is that they don't even take them into an actual violation, they just go ahead and hand it over to ICE. So when we come and we ask them, why did you pull them over? Can we see the body cam? Can we see the dash cam? All of a sudden they're like, oh no, we actually can't. And we asked ICE if we can give it to you. And I said, no, we're not going to give it to you. So how can we hold local law enforcement? How can we hold ICE accountable and nobody will give us the documents? In fact, in the person that I redacted there, this person in particular, we still don't know to this day why he gets pulled over by Big Sandy. You brought up Big Sandy? That in particular. I still don't know. Very innocently, I wasn't trying to, make Big Sandy look bad or anything. I just need to know. This is a young person who was pulled over, detained, actually put into jail. We just needed to know, and I still don't know.
Like, was there speculation that like this was a violent person, or?
Absolutely not. In fact, the person has no criminal history, and he was put.
He was pulled over for a brake light, or.
I would love to know.
No, like, I mean, I'm just.
No, yes. So I'm assuming, I can't even assume, but I can tell you that no crime was committed. I'm assuming that maybe the officer is saying there was some type of traffic violation, although there was no ticket given. There was no reason. There was a local police officer. We've asked for the documents. He refused the documents.
But now they're eyes, so to.
No, actually, so actually what happened?
Any jurisdiction at all?
No.
None.
No.
It was completely to the federal government, is that?
Exactly, and exactly what he was saying is that, and I can tell you this, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when it comes to your community, you will know. And when it's one of your local community members, because we're a small community, it affects us all, and especially in the place that Brownsboro. When it happens to your son's, soccer friends, dad, and you know him and he's a great person, and you send me and you write a letter saying, how well, I don't think this person should have been detained, you should release him. I mean, I've literally gotten letters from police officers, from council members, from commissioner members, from police chiefs, who people in their community were detained by ICE, and they're writing letters to immigration judge saying, would you please release this person? This is actually not the kind of person. And I always stay really surprised that, isn't this what y'all voted for? Did you not realize that this is what was going to happen? It's not a lie when they say that the majority of the people that are sitting ICE attention don't have any criminals. I know, I'm representing a lot of them. And those of them that do have criminal history, it's not that hard. They're going to commit a crime, they're going to go to jail, and guess what? Henderson County, which I'm assuming already gets policed by ICE, is going to put a hold on them, and they're going to go where they're supposed to go. So this is really unnecessary. And the federal government is not done. They're offering you a carrot for a reason. They've got a lot of money to give, and they want you to become their agents. And then you will lose the ability to have any say. I guarantee you, because it happened in Smith County, and I can tell you up front that several commissioners, when this lady was detained, wrote letters, said, well, they'll talk to their ICE partner, and guess what happened? Nothing. Just like you know. Because once you send something all the way up to Washington, guess what? They don't care. And so I would just caution you that everything, like the young lady said, it's not worth it. So I know the money seems enticing, but trust me, it's not going to be worth it. It's going to cause a lot of headaches and a lot of damage to the community.
Thank you. So I want to just interject before we go on, because a couple of people said, what is the problem that we need, we need to cope with policing is the violent crime here from immigrants. No, it's none of that. The reason we're looking at that is because, like you said, there's what is decent money to a big town. It would be huge money for this town as far as money that we would not spend on the police department because we would be getting funds for that, so that we could then spend on infrastructure and stuff like that. So that's what when she brought it to me, I was like, well, that is a lot of money, and if it's not going to change the way we police our town, then why not take the money? So I guess I still don't understand how, if, and I'm truly trying to understand, okay, if now today, we're not part of 287, we pull up behind somebody, one of the officers does, they don't have a driver's license, so we call them in. What changes between now and when we sign?
That means that you would benefit from seeing this, or you just even have a whole more information in your handout. And when you also see in one of those handouts, this office is responsible for multiple calls for this individual. We actually have a body cam that we might be interested what I'm show and what happened with people. And these were moving violations or alleged moving violations with the deportation. We actually have body cam. We might be interested about we have other.
And from my previous law enforcement example, I understand your question, what you're saying here, and I think I can really come for you.
Microphone.
I want to hear that, I want to hear his question answered. Yeah, I want to hear his question answered.
This is your question. Your question is, what's the difference? And here's the difference. Right now, your police department, the expectation of what they do on that stop is on them. So if it is, let's say it's just a regular traffic stop, keep thinking, pull somebody over, they're otherwise not a violent criminal, nothing is going on. It is at his discretion at that point. If he calls ICE and says, I want to make this hold, I want to drop him off at Anderson County Jail, I want to do this, this, and this. At this point, it's up to him whether he wants to go ahead and pull those strings and make this a big issue or not. When you involve 287G and you involve the federal government who is giving you money, it works just like a TWI saturation grant. There are a lot of agencies out here who are giving grant monies with the expectation of making more DWI results. How do you do that? You go out and you conduct more traffic stops and you put more people behind jail for DUI. What does that mean? That means when you get that DUI stop, it's not up to you anymore. It's up to the federal government who's paying you to produce numbers. They will not continue to give you money unless you're producing it. So now, let's go back to the traffic stop earlier. An otherwise law-abiding citizen gets pulled over for a blinker or something like that. Now, the expectation is taken, or the responsibility and the discretion that he has is no longer in his hands because he signed up for this program. Now he's obligated, receiving those funds, receiving that money. He is now obligated to conduct that ICE investigation. He's now obligated to contact those feds. Now, right now.
I'm sorry, is that true? Or are we obligated under 287 to traffic stop?
No, wait, you come for it, right?
287.
But if we become a partner, then
Your discretion is taken away.
Not from a traffic stop. It doesn't take the way you spoke to police.
No, sir, it does. You understand when you're a part of a grant funding where they say, here, sir, I will give you money for driving while intoxicated, but I want to see your department putting people behind jail for driving while intoxicated. So what are you doing? You're reporting those tickets, those citations, and those arrests to the government is giving you the money. Why? Because you want those grant funding to come in, you want that money to come in. You want to produce those numbers. You have to, as a matter of fact, produce those numbers.
Yeah. And
So that discretion doesn't come from you anymore when you are being obligated to produce numbers. You don't have the discretion on that traffic stop anymore to say, you know what, a brother over here is just trying to get home. That's it. Now I can stop this traffic stop and not take this any further, or the discretion would be up to you. Do I contact my ICE agent? Because you're right, Nixon County could still do it right now. Or do I take this a step further? But I'll tell you what, if you are on a domestic violence where somebody is beating up on their old lady, or there's an actual violent crime happening, and you go and investigate that, and you go to try and make an arrest of the violent offender, and that used to be in your hands, obviously, same thing. You find out through the investigation and trying to hide it again, that they're no longer, they're not documented, or they're not legal, or whatever. Now, you're contacting, right now, I would imagine that is when they're like, oh, no, I'm gonna contact ICE right now. But right, it would be, you would rather contact ICE right now, because you have the ability, on somebody who's a violent offender, right? Versus somebody getting pulled over with a blinker.
I've already stated that.
Okay, so that's my point here. Right now, you have discretion when to use that. That is my point. When the federal government gets involved and gives you money, you're getting in debt with the federal government who want to see those numbers. They want to see that produced immigration holds. They need that to continue to give you funding. They will not continue to give you money at your own discretion. Does that make sense, sir? Does that make sense to you all? Not necessarily a quota, but when you get federal grant money, in order for them to justify it, you have to show, produce like what we used to have to describe, traffic on property. And we would get those grants to do those traffic saturation.
Right, and
You have to produce that.
what, like, today?
No, that's do something that is there a?
Right, that's what I already got. Like,
Well,
it's,
here's the other question, but we have about that. I think they answer that question.
He doesn't know either. There is no quota, from what I understand. How it gets activated is once we know what you decide, and it's proof, and the officers have their training, it doesn't make it binding until one of the officers goes out on the task force and completes a warrant, and then we have to take that information and upload it to the federal government and report it that way. That's how it gets initiated. But
Okay, before you go with that, you asked a question a while ago, and it never actually got answered. It got danced around. It's just a simple question. And the simple question was, when there's a traffic stop now, what is the procedure difference between a stop right now, and one when you're a member of the force? So, I understand it is at your discretion, but isn't it normal to run an ID or run a name when you make a traffic stop?
yes, it is.
Okay, so doing that, you're calling in to your county, true, right? To see if there's a problem here with this person. Okay, so you're just going to the county. But if you were a member, this is where the answer to the question, what is the difference between what our traffic stops entail now and what they would entail as a member of the task force? Right now, when there's a traffic stop, it's just a routine, tail light or speeding. You go up, you get your license, you get your ID, you get your insurance, you go back to the car, and you run it like normal. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. But if you are a part of the task force, their lives have changed. Do you still only call Henderson County to start with? Or do you immediately just go to someone else? Where will you go if you are a member of a daily routine?
From my information, we still have that discretion on a traffic stop. The only part of the task force model that I wanted to participate in is going out on the warrant roundups. That's the only part. At no time did I, and I've already reiterated, and so did my officers, that the way we conduct traffic stops now are the same way they're going to be continued. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen or a non-citizen. If you do not have a driver's license, you're either issued a citation, and if the judge is available, you are taken to court before the judge. And at the most, the car may be impounded, and somebody is called to come pick you up. That is the procedure that's going to happen, and it would stay happening. Now, if it gets to that point where they do want to do that, then at any time I can terminate the MOU. At any time, the federal government has the right to end it, and then I also have the right to end it, for whatever reason that is.
The question is, what?
Well, once it's initiated,
Your officers were gonna be getting overtime money to go and work off duty in another county. You have personal motivation there, sir, to keep this program going. Not at the best conclusion and the best, what's best for this community, this county, or anybody else. You have personal vested interest in keeping that program going because you and your officers were making overtime money on the days off to go and enforce this program.
Chief, answer that question real quick, okay? Right now, they get a call. How many people have you deported or had detained by ICE in the last 7 days?
Pulled a car over the other day, and I didn't do anything with you. He got cited and cut off. I haven't supported.
Yeah, that's right.
Stop that.
Thank you. Here's the difference. Here's where it changes. Now you've got a different phone number to call. Now it's no longer calling and doing exactly what he said. Now it's no longer doing that. Now you have a different number to call. You have the federal government to answer to. So now you're dialing a different number. And the second, they tell you he has no driver's license. The minute that officer does exactly what he does, writing citations or let them go, now you have a different number to call. So you call them and the very first thing you do, don't move, we're on our way. Because he doesn't have a driver's license. If there's a Hispanic member out here driving without a driver's license, it's one of the two, because he didn't pay tickets, or he couldn't get it, or he doesn't have papers. Or he's trying to work the system to get his papers, but you have a different number to dial. So the second you dial that number, that person has an iPhone on them. ICE is going to show up, and they're going to say, okay, sir, where are you from? Let me see your papers. They're not going to say, what did you get stopped for? Sir, why are you driving without a brake light? Why didn't you turn on your signal light on 5th Street? That's not what they're going to ask. We're going to come up and immediately say, what's your nationality? Where are your papers? Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have papers? And at that point, sir, if he says no, he is detained with an iPhone that he can't get out of.
well,
Out of your control, sir.
well, I can tell you this, that's a requirement that I said that I have to call in a traffic stop, then I won't do the program, because that's not what I signed up for. What I want to do is police the city of Brownsboro on how I do that. Now, if it comes to that, then no, I won't get it, but I do want to participate in the task force if there's no strings attached with my traffic stop in my city.
Okay, I think that's an impossibility, because if you go with task force, they're going to expect the whole thing. But I appreciate you saying that, because we will soon see, and you will see, notice. Even talking to other police departments and share, go see Larry, and he'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you exactly what his officers are mandated to do when they get pulled over, they pull somebody over. It's a different story. That's why I said, you're now dialing a different number. And the minute you dial that number, sir, these lives are disrupted. Somebody's getting hurt. A community's being destroyed. And I appreciate it. Money's good. The money's good. Hell, I don't see why everybody, if it was that easy, I would beg every county in Texas to do it. I'd beg every constable, every sheriff's office, every municipality, every village in Texas, I'd say, do it. Take the federal government money.
God, we couldn't use it. All we need to do is sign up and walk away and say, no more. But after you do the MOU, after you do the memorandum of agreement, and due counsel it, sir, does the city of Brownsboro have to pay you back? Or is that free money that the government's going to give you?
In order to get the money first, you actually have to go out and participate with the task force.
Right. You're going to get a huge grant. The minute you cancel that, city of Brownsboro will some money.
You talk to me about, okay. Yeah, I pulled over and I have a very Anglo name. And I don't have a last call. Is I still call? Or is it, I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
They don't expect you to be an illegal alien in this country. They don't expect you to have an illegal status in this country. So why would they call us? No. No.
But that's racist.
Exactly.
You don't have to call in for clarity. Then, well, it's gonna be, we're gonna call the same people no matter who it is.
We can, sir. But when we call in for Brooke, there's a difference. When we call in for Brooke, they can find her in the system. She's an American citizen. They're gonna say, oh, Brooke Foster, yeah, okay, she's got no warrant, she's clean. That's the difference. That's the difference. There's not an ISO because they found you in the system. We can find you in the United States system, Social Security, or wherever we need to look for you. But if you're somebody who's been here 25 years and trying to fix their papers and have applied for citizenship 4 times and they say, nope, they can't find you in the system.
I'm spelling.
They can't identify you here.
Yeah, on the MOA, specifically says how can authority integrate any area of personal LD that the understanding as who do you think they're her or me? Matter of fact, I bring a brown person up here and they can decide which one of us is the people. So what we've seen in practice in all reality is that we see brown people are new to each of them for things that just want to over. I've never seen somebody like maybe 7G. I've never seen. So, sorry, I see. No, it's not. What we're seeing in practice is that the MOA itself specifically says the lead to be in the country illegally. So, in other words, how do you believe somebody is in the country illegally? Who's going to decide that? Who's going to define that? If they look at you or they look at me, who are they going to decide? Or let's pick somebody else. Okay, do y'all believe to be an illegal alien in this room?
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to be doing at the traffic stop. It is unfortunate. It's not good. We don't like it. And that's what we're asking, not to put our officers in that position to where instead of pulling up to somebody and doing the job of the state, which is keeping our community safe, now we're looking at people and suspecting whether they're an alien or not. And just one other quick thing I wanted to tell you on, like I said, we have some video of some initial police stops we're happy to show you all. But you know what? They're not just going to want to talk to whoever you guys pulled over. Maybe you call them. They're going to want to talk to everybody in the car. Then they start asking everybody for their papers. And that's true. So not only have we seen just the person they pulled over, but then they start asking everybody in the car, where's your driver's license? And we've literally seen that. We're like, why are you asking them for their driver's license? They're not. So I believe the chief when he says, but the problem is that when he says the 287G task force, that's not just him. That's our federal partners, and our federal partners have decided that they will question everybody on anything. Doesn't matter if they've committed an offense or not, and that is what we're seeing in practice every day in East Texas, in our different communities that have signed 287G agreements.
Okay, this from Smith County. Was she pulled over by Smith County?
Yes. So when 287G came to town and they decided to train local officers, what happened was that we had everything that we saw happen in Smith County when it first came online. That's because the 287G federal officers were on the ground in East Texas.
She was pulled over by Smith County, but she was pressing her. Okay.
She was a passenger in the back.
So did the sheriff's office officer, or then they call ICE?
Well, that's the point, is that, yeah, so that's the point. They're working in partnership. So it's no longer just going to be officer, who's out here. He's going to have 2 or 3 federal partners alongside him. So when he pulls them over for not having a light, what he would normally do is what he would normally do, but then they're going to say, oh, no, no. Like, we want to know who else is in the car, what's your name, what are you doing, we're going to call you in. And whatever may have started as a regular police stop turns into an interrogation of everybody in the vehicle. And like I said, that's what we're seeing in practice. This is not just, like I said, everything I'm telling you, I'm happy to show you, because me and Leila, who works with Texas Jail Project, we have been doing the work of trying to hold local communities accountable in the sense of we just want to make sure that it's being done correctly. I'm not trying to get it and do a gotcha, but what we're finding is in local practice is that when the 287G task force officers, ICE officers get involved, they are on these stops. So they are going to make the decisions. So unfortunately, it ends in a lot of bad things happening.
I have a question for you. You feel like when communities become partners with this 287G, okay? Like, we see a lot of Henderson County sheriffs sitting around or BPS. Do you feel like, tell me honestly, that in these communities that are partners, that there are ICE agents on the ground sitting in cars,
Absolutely. I mean, I can share literally reports with you that have come from local communities where they are, I had a lady who got pulled over, and I know the chief said, well, you asked, is anything going to change? When she got pulled over for that brake light, part of the light, still haven't seen the video, that she got pulled over for. She was pulled over and pulled aside for 45 minutes while the ICE partners should come. And she sat there for a long time. And I'm sorry, but, I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing people get pulled over for not having a light on the back of their license plate in the middle of the day. I'm seeing small infractions that normally would have been things that probably local police officers are like, I don't have time for that. Just very small infractions. I've had EPS pull people over for going 2 miles over the limit. I've had EPS stop people for saying, oh, they're following too closely or they're going too slow in the fast lane. Just so many things that I cannot tell y'all that, it's unfortunate, but yes, we are seeing every little infraction is a means for somebody to be pulled over and shove it into, an ICE stop. So, like I said, if he's just by himself, right, he's going to do whatever maybe he's going to do on his own. But when you invite ICE into the partnership, they're going to send officers here, and they're going to do things, and they're going to train, and they're going to come to town. They're going to ask you to partner to do stuff, and it's going to go from there.
I don't know on a federal contract if you can pick your thing, like enforce what you can. I don't think you can say, well, I'm not going to do this or that. I think the whole contract is going to be what you have to follow. And while we're talking about all of this, can we hear back here, please? Grants available.
I'm going to see she's speaking on it.
There's other grants available that you can apply for, and I have those here. My research with IC that, probably not going to get it because we don't have a functional jail, and we have operational vehicles now. We can double check that, but that's what I've got off of the ICE website, so.
Okay. I did say that everyone would have a chance to speak, so I'm going to ask, and I appreciate that y'all are more professional at this, so y'all have a lot of answers, but I still want, so what I'm going to ask is, if you've already spoken this evening, give everyone that hasn't spoken this evening a chance to speak before you either take the microphone or just start speaking. So for the folks that have not spoken yet, okay, this is the first hand I saw. So,
Well, I'd like to clarify on the traffic stops. right now, we haven't been, nor have we ever asked anybody what kind of driver's license nationality you are. So if I don't ask you what nationality you are, I don't know if you're a citizen or not. Why would I call ICE? You know, there are people that have been taken place on, from Ukraine that are life-skinned. People from other countries, not just Latin America, immigration has been deported. So if I'm not asking you your immigration status,
You have to under the MOA. I have a copy. It says it right on the first page. They will tell you what your responsibilities are. I just went home and printed this. It's on the front page.
yeah, so I will say, my name is Dylan Sidler. I'm a neighbor over in White House, Texas. I spoke at the White House City Council meeting where they vote down 287G agreement. And I'll say the same thing to you guys that I said to them. It looks like a lot of money. Paul Rickson, our chief of police over there, put down $1 million to the city. But when you start to read the fine print of the MOA that wasn't provided to this city council, that wasn't provided in this meeting, you see it starts to fall apart because a lot of that money is paid at the discretion of the federal government. And what we're seeing around the country, they aren't paying. They're not paying the cities back, mostly for these profiling lawsuits, where the city followed the memorandum, followed everything they were supposed to do, and ICE came, got involved. Someone like these two ladies end up taking them on as clients, suing them, and the city foots the bill. The taxpayers foot the bill. And a lot of these smaller municipalities that don't have the funding end up going in the red before they see a dime of federal money, because a lot of it is promised at the end of training after you make your first arrest. And so I would urge you to go find the memorandum, to go read it. And then I want to say one more thing. This man said just a minute ago, and I want to repeat these words. The only part that he is interested in participating in is the roundups in Smith County. I don't think we need to round up our immigrants. I think our immigrants built these communities. They were in Texas first. Stop coming up with black and brown people.
The roundups that he was talking about are roundups of people that are in gangs, major crimes, drugs, violent crimes, which I think we can agree we don't want in this country. I mean, no, but no. Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not. So we wouldn't have to worry about that part. But we could put the fund is what I'm saying.
My first question is how many people in this room live in Brownsboro? Okay, that's good to see. Because I also am from White House, Texas. And we had people come in, Hector Garza included, who hijacked our city council meeting. Our city council looked just like this. We had 4 people in the city manager. One of our people did not show up because they did not want to vote. They did not want to be the person who made everybody mad or happy. So our mayor was the deciding vote. And I had no problem with that. What I had a problem with, and this is going to be a very hypocritical thing of me to say, what I have a problem with is a law that we have that is 551.007. 551.007 gives you an open meeting act, which means you can have people come in and hijack what you and your city want done. You can come from Ohio, you can come from White House, you can come from Dallas. But you need to make sure that what is happening is what your city wants done.
They don't want it.
And if they don't want it, I'm all for that. Hector Garza at our meeting was saying you're doing this for nothing but the money. they were heckled. Our city council was heckled and continually saying, you're doing this for the money, you're doing this for the money. And our city backed down. Hector Garza also said, I'm seeing a different person here tonight than what was at our city council meeting. He talked and said, if you vote for this, we're going to boycott your schools. We're going to take our kids out of your school. This is what we have to do. And they are right. You will have to make that first arrest. And my hope would be that if you make that first arrest, it is a violent criminal. It is someone who is sex trafficking or taking drugs through your town, and not someone who just does not have a driver's license. I love that tape. The majority of people that have spoke are not from Brownsboro, just like me. Yeah, you're welcome.
I will respond. No, okay, I will give you a chance, but listen, I've asked us to be civil, and that means even if someone is speaking that you don't agree with, I would ask that you let them say their piece, just like everyone else has, okay? So, it's fine if you don't agree with them, but shouting over them is not how democracy works, okay? We are doing this because we want to hear from you, okay? So all I'm asking is that, well, I can't stop people that are not from Brownsboro from speaking. I can't. But what I'm asking is that when someone else is speaking, even if you don't like the things that are coming out of their face, that you wait until they are done so they can say their piece, because that is how democracy works. That's the whole reason we're having this. This isn't a requirement for this, okay? But we wanted the feedback from the community. But that means even if it's a viewpoint you don't like, you still get to see. I see the sign, but that doesn't change the fact that everyone gets to speak, even if you don't agree with them. So please, just while someone's speaking, let them say their piece.
And I would ask that y'all would not vote on this tonight. I would ask that you take it.
There's no vote tonight.
I would ask that you talk to Larry Smith. I would ask that you talk to the officers at Fuller. I would ask that you find out exactly what is going on before you do make a vote.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, I saw you fired up, so I'm going to ask that you be civil. Okay.
No, she's already playing it down Facebook. That's fine. My name is Christy Hyden-Sigler. I am the Smith County Democratic Party Chair, and I am from White House. However, I was asked to be here by my friend, a resident from Henderson County, and your Henderson County Democratic Party Chair, Michael Flatmark. So let it be clear that I'm not here on my own volition, though I am also here on my own volition, okay? So I am stepping forward to speak tonight as Democratic Party Chair of Smith County, but also as a Hispanic woman, also as a hobby historian, okay? My grandfather is one of the proudest moments and things of my life, was a statistician who helped count bodies when he liberated Dachau, okay? For those of you who may not be familiar, Dachau was a concentration camp that was run by Nazi Germany, and it was one of the most brutal death camps during World War II. Okay, as a hobby historian, I read a lovely book by Mr. Christopher Browning called Ordinary People. Okay, and what often gets missed about World War II and about the concentration camps is that most of the killing done wasn't done by Hitler himself. It wasn't done by anyone. Okay? It was done by ordinary police officers who lined people up, who participated in these roundups, stuck guns to the backs of their heads, made them kneel in ditches that they dug to fall on their Jewish brothers and Polish brothers and sisters into their blood, where they drowned if they were not killed immediately. Okay? So, to say that
You are not going to police that way. Do you think those cops thought they were? Or do you think thought they were being patriotic? That they were standing for their homeland, for their brethren. You are not policing with 287G to make Brownsboro safer, much like my neighbors in White House were not policing to make White House safer under 287G. You're policing to make it wider. And that's what you need to wrestle with. Is it worth me and my children having backup documents with our family, no matter how legally we may be here, in case I get picked up? Is it worth me carrying around 3 forms of identification, a passport, a social security card, and a driver's license every day for the last year and a half in case I get stopped? Which I bet, if you look in the mirror and your face doesn't look like mine, you don't feel it. You don't feel it. I do. That's why I ran for office. That's why I get heckled by that lady all the time. It's because I'm standing up for something that's right, for what my grandfather stood up for the horrors that he saw, that he never talked about until the day he died. Or he died in my father's arms. So you need to ask yourselves, is it worth every time a brown person turns the corner and sees one of your officers, then feeling unsafe? Because I do. I watched the way I'm driving. I watched you follow the university source. Larry Smith knows my name. And I'm proud of that. And I would have nothing less. So I ask you, council, to consider not just Nazi Germany, but your neighbor down in Houston, who was not even the target of the ICE arrest that was attempted to be made, being shot and killed in the streets. The wrong man. The 26-year-old father in Maine who was murdered with his 3-year-old daughter in her back seat with her blue pajamas on this morning, who is not the man they were looking for, who is dead. He is dead. His daughter no longer has a father. Okay, so when we're talking about that one arrest that 287G requires for you to get the money, is it worth taking away someone's everything? And is it worth being wrong? Is it worth ripping a family apart? Destroying them, sending them from camp to camp to camp to Dillon, the only concentration camp here in the United States that takes children and starves them. That's on Texas soil, and you have the opportunity to stand up and do something different, to do the right thing. So I ask that you do. I ask that you consider the implications of what you're doing, not the price tag, not the money. I want you to consider your brother, your uncle, your neighbor, and if you could live with their blood on your hands. Thank you.
Hey folks, good evening. My name is Luis Ryder. Some of you may know me. For those of you who don't, I'm a graduate from Brownsboro High School. I graduated in 2018. I went to college, graduated in 2022. I'm from East Texas. I was born here. I've been a community member for over 20 years. I live in Tyler. I don't live in Brownsboro anymore, but I still have friends and family that go to Brownsboro High School. I care about the very small program. I'm part of this community. It happens so. I talk about the police department, I talk about these things, but I am going to tell you an anecdote. Race profiling is real, whether you like it or not. I like to see myself in this. I think that's Mexican as American. I play football for the school. I love barbecue. I go when I can. I got to think I'm a good citizen. However, twice in my life, once when I was 18, and once a couple months ago, I was pulled over for a routine traffic stop. Again, African as American as I think I am, I'm also obviously very insane. My name is Luis Suarez. My skin. I was pulled over for a routine traffic stop. What the or nothing. What if that had happened to somebody who can't speak as well as I can? Whether they're a citizen or resident or not. And also, I always ask myself, would that happen to me if I was white? Look at it. Racial profiling is real, whether you want to admit it or not. And that's going to happen. You have said the things you will do, the things you won't do. Other communities have said the same things. But then the reality is much different. We have seen that across the state, across the country. You can say you're going to make these promises. I don't think you can keep them. That's it.
Hi, my name is Brian. I don't live here in Brownsboro. I graduated. I'm sorry, what was the name? I was just going to say, they're most of the people who died during the Holocaust they were taken by police officers, not necessarily by Secret Service. But most of the people who died during the Holocaust, they weren't killed by, they weren't executed, they weren't sent to gas chambers. Most of the people who died in the Holocaust died from typhoid fever. It's not something that's talked about as much, but disease is one of the biggest killers in any war, whether it's World War I, World War II, or the Holocaust specifically. People were taken and they were put into awful detention centers, concentration camps, places where they didn't have access to proper food, they didn't have anything they needed to keep warm, because it's much colder there. We have to worry about the heat down here, but it's different for them. But right now, we have measles and other diseases that we haven't had to worry about in quite a while, ravaging through ICE detention centers. Just last month, we had a policy where if somebody died in ICE detention, they have, within 60 days of being released from a detention center, they have to report that. That started in 2021 because there were several cases where people who had just recently been released had died, and their families had tried suing the state for it. They were trying to get some sort of accountability for this. And just last month, that policy has ended. While measles and other, like just the flu, COVID, have been ravaging detention centers. These detention centers have very similar conditions to the work camps, where, I mean, people are not being fed, they are not getting their medications they need, and they are being worked by a private prison company. And I don't know how much money you'll get for 287G, but I know it is not worth putting a single one of our community community members in one of these private prisons where we work possibly to death. Because that is how most people die. And, well, you know, I'm not your third. I don't really give a lot of speeches there. I have to say something about this. It's crazy.
I just want to say, I moved up here from Victoria. I lived down there for 30 some odd years. And I know what people are saying, and the only thing I'm going to say here is I moved here about 6 years ago. As far as I know, Brownsboro, they have been good people. The police department has been very good. They've helped me quite a few times. And I know there's problems in this world. I'll be first to tell you. There's bias, there's things that go on, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy. But what I won't say is I want to keep Brownsville like Brownsville. I don't want to bring out big problems in here from this big city. You start bringing in problems from Dallas, Houston, places like that, drag it over here, you might be trouble. So what I'm saying, I understand what you people are saying. I know there's problems out there, and we need to work on it. But the thing we need to do is quit fighting amongst ourselves, work together, and accomplish what we need. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Bethany. My name is Bethany. I'm a student at Brownsboro High School. And this is what my statement is. Oh, sorry. My name is Bethany. I'm a student at Brownsboro High School. Okay. Partnering our local police with immigration officers causes serious harm and serves no useful purpose. It transforms routine interactions into deportation traps, making neighbors fear the police. This fear stops people from reporting crimes or acting as witnesses, which actively damages public safety, and leaves our entire community less secure. Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you today as a student, but more importantly, as a resident who deeply cares about the people in this town. We are a close-knit community, we know our neighbors, and we rely on our local police to keep our streets, our schools, and our families safe. Lately, there has been talk about letting our local police partner with immigration officers. On the surface, some might say this sounds like a good way to be tough on crime, but as a student who sees the reality of how these policies play out in our schools and neighborhoods, I can tell you that this approach is counterproductive and hostile. First, these partnerships are not useful for our specific public safety needs. When our local police are tasked with enforcing federal immigration laws, they are diverted away from crimes that actually threaten our daily lives. Instead of investigating thefts or responding to emergencies or focusing on community issues, police time and town resources are spent on immigration enforcement. Our police force should be focused on local public safety, not federal bureaucracy. Second, and more importantly, these partnerships cause undeniable harm by completely destroying trust. Effective policing relies entirely on cooperation of the community. If members of our town are afraid that a simple traffic stop, a noise complaint, or a call for help after an accident will result in an immigration inquiry or deportation, they will stop calling the police. Victims of violence don't come forward and witnesses won't speak to investigators. When entire neighborhoods are too terrified to interact with law enforcement, our streets actually become less safe, not more. In a small town, we thrive when we look out for one another. When we turn local officers into immigration agents, we create an environment of fear and racial profiling. We put the safety of our most vulnerable residents at risk and tear families apart. Our police officers should be our trusted partners in public safety, not the face of fear. I urge our local leaders to keep our police focused on our community and reject this partnership. Let's keep our small town united and safe for everyone. Thank you.
Hey, Bethany, good job. That's it. high school student. I'm proud of you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yolanda Arprince, and first I want to thank the community member who invited me to be here tonight, and also the mayor and the council for hosting this town hall. While I am a candidate in a neighboring congressional district, I accept this invitation because what happens in one community in East Texas affects us all. Tonight I stand in opposition to the proposed 287G agreement. Let's be clear. I believe in public safety and I believe our laws should be enforced. But I also believe every level of government has a responsibility to do the job it was created to do. Federal immigration enforcement is a federal, again I say federal responsibility. Local law enforcement should be focused on protecting our neighborhoods, solving crimes, and building trust with the communities they serve. While when people are afraid to report a crime, call 911, or even cooperate with law enforcement because they fear immigration consequences, our communities become less safe, not more safe. Public safety depends on trust, and trust cannot exist where fear takes its place. I also believe every person deserves to be treated with dignity and afforded due process under the law. We can support law enforcement while also protecting our constitutional rights. Those values go hand in hand. This proposal is about more than what kind of community we want to be. I believe when we support each other together, we build trust and ensure that every single person feels safe, seeking help when they need it. For those reasons, I respectfully urge you all, the local leaders, to reject the proposed 287G agreement. Thank you all for allowing me to stand with you this evening. God bless you, and God bless East Texas.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabby. I am by the community here. I'm a graduate from Brownsboro. I am about 90% of the people here. They're friends, family, people who I grew up with. I used to walk the street. I come to ask you, this is my home. This is where I call home. This is all I've ever known to be home. It has been mentioned several times that the only information that has been read was on the website. When you, for example, when you go buy a car, do you just talk to that one salesman and take his word for it and sign up on the car? No. You do your research. You do what you have to do to make sure you're getting the best benefit out of it. So before you make a statement or say yes or no, look at the body information. You look at all the evidence given here. Look at it all. This big decision needs to be vetted. It needs to be looked at all angles because this can go so long. Like we said earlier, there is no immigration problem here. So why bring that here? If you allow that kind of force to be here, you're allowing it to happen to anybody here. Can you promise me that what happened to Lorenzo Salgado, what happened to Renee Good, and what happened to Alex Perry is not going to happen here? Because not only some of those were Hispanic, some of those were white. And they weren't the target of these investigations. They just happened to be there. They just happened to look like someone. For Lorenzo, he looked like him. and he got failed. Whatever amount of money they're offering you, I want you to ask yourself something. Whether it's $1 million, $100,000, whatever it is this incentive worth enough to risk the people in this room? Is it worth for you to lose your neighbor, whether what color they are, what status? Is it worth enough for you to cover the losses that come with it? Because there probably is going to be discrimination. There is going to be wrongful here. Can Brownsville cover that cost? How many losses are going to be if and when this goes wrong? Is it worth risking our children's education? This is the only high school that we have in Chandler and unirse and Brownsboro. People come through here. This is our town. This is all of our town. Are you willing to risk these people in this van for that amount of money? One more question. Is that money worth enough for you to sleep better at night if percent of blood on your hands if you vote yes? Because that could happen. It has happened. Happened today, this morning. And May. Look at these people. Is that money worth these people here?
Good evening. My name is Hannah. I'm a young adult speaking about tonight and I think that matters because whatever this council decides isn't about tonight. It's about who's going to be held accountable for it after tonight is over. And right now, I don't think anyone in this room can answer that question. I was born here. I've gone to school here my class 25, from elementary all the way through high school. Our high school isn't just for Brownsboro students either. Other students from other small towns around here come to school with us because we're one of the only high schools in the area. That means that if this goes wrong, it doesn't just go wrong for us. It goes wrong for a lot of families who trust Brownsboro enough to send their kids here every day. So, before the council votes, I think we're owed some real answers about who is responsible for what occurs. What are body camera policies? Do our officers have the ability to turn their cameras off? Because if they do, I don't see how this council, or any of us, can guarantee that a traffic stop wasn't the result of racial profiling. If there's no footage, there's no accountability. There's just our word against theirs, and my classmates' families don't just take that on faith. Do we have license plate readers in this town? Are we planning to get them? And if we do, who has access to that data? Are we planning, oh, sorry. I'm not much of a speaker either, but who someone is, oh, so sorry guys. Do we have license plate readers in this town? Are we planning to get them? And if we do, who has access to that data? Who someone is, where they've been, what times they leave, come home, what I say able to pull from that database? Because here's what that actually means. A federal agency in Washington getting a direct line to the daily movements of everyone in this town. I grew up hearing that people move to towns like Brownsboro precisely so Washington doesn't get to run their lives. That's supposed to be the whole point of a small town. We can do our own business, we know our own neighbors, we don't need a federal agency to listen to our police department's daily decisions. This program is the opposite of that. It's not local control, it's handling our data, our officers' time, our tough decision-making to whoever's writing the rules in Washington. And if something goes wrong, not if, when. When, because we've seen it go wrong in Houston and Minneapolis. Who actually answers for it? Is it the chief? Is it the council? Is it the officer? Or does it just get passed up to the chain to the federal agency that doesn't have to answer to anyone in this room in this town ever? Because right now, I don't think anyone up there can tell me the answer that should just bother every single person sitting in the seats tonight, not just me. If we can't hold anyone here accountable when this goes wrong, we haven't just given up oversight. We've given up being a small town that runs itself. I know I'm young, and I know some people might think that that means I don't have much at stake in this as the adults in this room. I think it's the opposite.
I think I'm going to be living with whatever the council decides and with whatever accountability gaps we open tonight for a lot longer than most people here. So here's my last question, and I ask every member of the council to actually sit with it before you vote. Are you willing to lose the vote of majority of the people in this room over a program that hands our account's business to Washington and can't even answer basic accountability questions about it? Because I think that's what's actually on the ballot tonight. Whether it's officially agenda or not, I want to be proud of Brownsboro for staying Brownsboro, for handling our own business, our own way. Give us real answers and give us a reason to be proud. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yasmin. I hate public speaking, but this is important. Earlier, somebody asked a question and they dismissed it very quickly. And you know why you dismissed it? Because it made you uncomfortable. The question was, it was, who here is an American? And you said, let's not play that game. Why? Why don't we play that game? Because you know what's going to happen? That is the game that we will play. Well, we are out there in the streets. That is the game that my family, my friends are going to play. And they do not have the privilege to say, let's not play this game.
Right. I didn't want to play that game because that's exactly what I don't want to happen in this town this week.
But it will.
Well,
Say no. At your core, you know what this is. You know that this is a bill that will discriminate. You know that it's not going to be certain people in this room that are affected. I was born in California. I was raised in Mexico. I was brought back here when I was 6 years old, and I have been a Texan my entire life based on where I have lived. I am not worried about myself. I'm worried about so many people in this room because I know how it's going to affect me. And you cannot sit there and tell me that this is not going to happen. You dismissed the question because it made you uncomfortable.
No, ma'am.
And that is how we feel.
I didn't dismiss the question.
You did.
No, ma'am.
Second.
I said, I don't want to play that game because I don't want us to start saying who's the citizen, who's the citizen.
But that's going to happen. You can say, I don't want to play that game. We will not have that choice. When this is enacted, if you say yes, we don't get that freedom. We don't have that privilege. So thank you for your time. I hope you will consider what I'm saying. And I'm very frustrated right now because you do have that privilege. We don't.
I really ask for people that haven't had a chance to speak. I would appreciate it because you just spoke, right? So we still have people that haven't had a chance to speak. So if you wouldn't mind, please.
Hello? If you need me to come forward, I can. Okay. So, a little bit of a story. I did have some questions, but many of my other friends in this room have already included a bunch of it for me. But ever since I was much younger, I'm only 22, so very young. And ever since I was beginning to drive at age 17, I have been what we would call a designated driver, a DD, or just what I ended up calling myself eventually was a chauffeur. Not because I was any good at driving, but it was because I was nervous and had a stick in my butt, and I didn't like playing around with drive. So what I would do was that I would drive around mini micros for many years. And I remember working at 18 years old, fast forward a year, and I'm driving a lot of my friends home. And a lot of them happen to be brown. They happen to all be at the same time. Now, during this whole time, we're around a bunch. One of them, age 15, one of my young coworkers, that honestly, none of the long of us got along with because he would do little silly things. And he ended up throwing a cup out the window, right? Literally, he was a litter club. And me, obviously, I got on him. I said, don't do that. You're littering. That's bad. You're making the place look bad. So I drive him home, but all the while, I'm not scared at all about if a police officer had seen that window roll down and see a cop fly out the window and say, hey, you're gonna get pulled over, you're littering, you should be doing that, right? Never scared. Even if there was a police officer, I wouldn't be scared. Because this was during the time prior to the 287G panic, to the 287G crisis. I was the only white person in that car. I now think back to that time of if there was a police officer in the town of Princeton where we were driving, would I have been pulled over, but not questioned? I'm a driver, I have done no wrong, but would everyone else in the car be questioned because of just the color of their skin? Because they're obviously very Hispanic, very brown skin, many of them speak Spanish. Would they have to be questioned of, okay, someone threw out that cup in the passenger seat in the back, I want to need to see everybody's identification. That is something now I have to consider when driving around with friends today. I still have Hispanic friends. I have Hispanic friends that have that have status that's not citizenship. And so just driving down here, down 31, which happens to be the main artery of this town, I came across and have to do a U-turn to be able to get in here. Excuse me. There was a little handmade ice cream shop, probably about not even 50 feet from here, with a little farmer's market stand. Now, me, I'm a lover of farmer's market stands. There's one in Athens. I'm from Athens. I've grown up in Athens. Really using the word, but I would tell you that Athens goes who the hell knows what the word is. So, being a local of Athens, I love going to farmer's stands. You can ask the one lady there at the farmer's stand. I probably know where the heck I love her talking to her so much, but I buy her out to her strawberries and plums pretty much on a weekly basis. So, seeing that handmade little business that's on ice cream over there, I was saying to myself, you know, I'm going to go over there after this is done and see what their hours are. I look at this town on the map constantly because being in Athens, I frequently commute between Athens and Tyler all the time. And so usually I use District 31. However, I'm just trying to get to Tyler. I would have no plans to stop in this town until today. Today, I was seeing a whole myriad of small little businesses, little fledgling businesses. And I was thinking, so maybe I should stop in this town. Maybe I should bring some of my friends. And some of my friends are brown and don't really get out much to these smaller towns as they live in a much bigger town of Tyler. Not many more things going on. And so now that we're here speaking about this 287G, about the potentiality of bringing this into this town, I'm now going to reconsider, should I really bring my friends to these small little locations here, these little fledgling places, probably ran by a mother and father, a grandma, a niece, a nephew, a brother and sister, someone from this town obviously wants it. And when money is spent in such a small business, and Dad has backed it up to show that when money is spent in the town, it has an immensely high likelihood of staying within the town. This is not the case when we go to somewhere like Walmart or Target. That leads. It's a national chain. Where you want money to be spent is in a small town. So it grows that town. It grows the productivity of the town. And now looking at that small business, should I bring my friends here? Should I invite them to this town, being around themselves with the potentiality of having to be stopped and asked, where are you from? Well, from Tyler. Me. Where are you really from? Such a question runs through the minds of my friends that have been born here. And yes, it still is something they must consider because, yes, many of us drive, most of us drive, I believe. I drive. I have a driver's license. But by law, we are not stipulated to carry a driver's license. We don't have to carry any form of identification. So if I were to bring a friend over here, that doesn't drive, I do have friends and citizens that don't drive, they just take Ubers. Would they be accosted and put in the back of a squad car to be interrogated of where are we from? Okay, Tyler, where's your documents? Where are you really from? Okay, well, I was born in the hospital. No. Where's your parents from? Such a question must be considered because of the longevity of this town. It's not based on these big chains that come in, operate for maybe a decade and leave. It's on the small businesses out there. And these small businesses are fed by word of mouth. And if my mouth doesn't open to my friends in other towns
that do not know of these businesses, those businesses have a high likelihood of never growing. Because I'm just one person. But if I don't spread information, it stays as one person. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Maritza. I was born and raised right here in Brownsville along with my sister Selena, who we will be hearing from in a moment. We went to school here, grew up here our whole life, or here. I trust our police department not as an abstract idea. I know who they are. It's made up of 4 people, a chief and 3 officers. That's who shows up when something happens in this town. A car accident, a fire, a break-in, a domestic dispute. Our police are there. That is exactly why I'm asking this council to think carefully before changing what we ask of them. A 287B task force agreement doesn't add resources to our department. It adds a new job on top of what our officers already have. Weeks of federal training, new deputies during traffic stops and patrol. Our 4 officers would now be expected to do federal immigration enforcement on top of everything they already do for us, like checking on our homes, responding to our calls, and knowing our kids by name at the football games. They would be asked to do that even though this town does not have an immigration problem. Mayor, I know how much you love this town. I'm asking you to look at the decisions through that same lens, not as a policy question, but as a question about what you actually love about Brownsboro. Because what makes this small town work is a small department that knows this community personally, doing the job we actually need to do them to do. Under the task force model, officers gain the authority to question anyone they believe might be under here illegally. Based on their own judgment at the moment, my family has been here generations, but there's no questions that we are Latinos. That won't matter to an officer when the department is incentive to make as many arrests as possible. And I do thank you for letting me talk today. Good evening, Council. My name is Selena. I'm from last time. Like my sister Maritza, I grew up here in Brownsboro. Like you heard from her, our whole life have been in this town. I want to talk about something practical tonight, our local economy, because there isn't much of it, and it doesn't take much to hurt it. Brownsboro has 3 gas stations, a laundromat, a dollar store, 1 small grocery store, a tire shop, a car wash, and a presidente. One of the only sit-down restaurants in town that's close to the whole list. We don't have a mall, we don't have a movie theater. What we have is each other, showing up at the same handful of places week after week. Nothing is how what happens if even a portion of our neighbors become afraid to go to the store, afraid to stop for gas, afraid to sit down for a meal at the presidente, because they're worried they might be profiled. That fear doesn't stay contained to one group. It touches the businesses all of us depend on. A grocery store that loses customers because people are scared to leave their house isn't a grocery store that survives long in a town this size. This isn't a program that only affects one part of Brownsboro. If it changes how safe people feel simply going about their day, running errands, eating dinner out, filling up their tank, it touches every small business we have left. And in this expensive economy, we cannot afford to lose businesses. That would only make life more expensive or require us to drive further for basic necessities. And so when communities outside of this town hear about this agreement, the people who stop to fill up at our gas stations will likely just wait to fill up in Chandler or Murchison. They will want to get to this town during this commute as quickly as possible. That means our local businesses will lose money from their own neighbors, but also from people just passing by, because they don't want to spend an extra minute than absolutely necessary in Brownsboro. I'm asking this council to think plainly about what keeps our few businesses alive, neighbors who feel safe enough to show up, and outsiders who feel safe enough to stop, even if it's just to fill up. While you will hear a lot about how this program would affect individuals, think about what it could do to this town's economy. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Jonathan. My name is Julia, and I have lived here in Brownsboro all my life. I went to high school here. I raised 3 of my children here. All adults now, and two of them still live here at the time. This town isn't just where I live. It's where my whole family history is. I want to talk to you as someone who watched this town for decades, and as someone who looked closely at the numbers in our budget. Here's what concerns me the most as a taxpayer. This city-owned budget shows liability insurance holding flat at $23,000 a year. No increase at all from last year. Even while the city total return is projected to grow to over 1.1 million, everything else in this budget is growing. Our protection against lawsuits is not. That matters because this exact program has cost other towns real money. Maricopa County, Arizona paid over $300 million in settlements because of the lawsuit under the exact tax force model of the 287G program. As my place is closer to size, I pay anywhere from $49,000 to $300,000 per case. Any of those numbers wipes out our entire annual liability budget at once. And who will have to foot the bill? Us, the taxpayers. Taxes will rise in order to stay afloat. I don't know about your personal finances, but I personally can't afford to pay more I cannot afford to pay more taxes to police officers doing something I did not ask for. Nor what them do. Have you seen the gas prices lately? We should be focusing on making things. Many people in this town are barely getting by, and they will also be at risk of having to pay more in taxes because of a lawsuit just waiting to happen. To anyone in this council raising kids or thinking about the next generation in this town, I know some of you are. I think you understand exactly what I mean when I said I want this town to still be here, and strong and trust. For the kids growing up in it now, I'm asking you to make sure that if something goes wrong, this town isn't left holding a bill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taylor. I am a member of the council committee. I live here. I have a child on every single campus here. I've taught here. I've worked here. Most people in this room have seen my face many times. Some of them are my neighbors. Some of them are my friends. You know, I love this community. So when I speak tonight, you're going to hear a lot of things that you've already heard from the members of the community, but it deserves to be said again. It deserves to be said loud. So basically, let me start with, I'm from a small town with a small police force. Every officer's time is valuable. I believe that the resources that we have should remain focused on the responsibilities of our local police and that our local police are uniquely equipped to already handle. Protecting our neighborhoods, keeping our school zones safe, responding quickly to emergencies and preventing theft and property crime, and building relationships with the people they serve. Programs like 287G require specialized training and can shift the focus of law enforcement away from those everyday responsibilities. More importantly, they damage the trust between the officers and the community. When people are afraid to call you because someone broke into their house, what are you going to do? When people are afraid to call you because their spouse is beating them, what are you going to do? When your house catches on fire or burns to the ground, but your neighbor may have questionable immigration status and will not want to call 911, how is that going to affect our community? Sorry, I got a little off here. Give me just a second.
As someone said before, people will not want to be witnesses in crime. When you see something happen in a gas station, if immigration status is in question, people will not want to comply. All around, it makes everyone around us less safe. Brownsboro has a strong Hispanic community. They have helped shape the character of this town. Most Hispanics in Brownsboro have built their lives here. They attend our schools. They work in our local businesses. They own our local businesses. They worship in our churches. They contribute to the success of this community every day. Regardless of every person's immigration status, every resident should feel safe reporting a crime, calling 911 during an emergency, or cooperating in law enforcement as a witness. When that trust between the community and law enforcement is weakened, everyone is less safe. And that is a consequence that I hope that the council will carefully consider. I also want to address a statement that was made recently at a meeting I took yesterday. You guys talked about wanting Brownsboro to grow. I know most of you on the council personally, and I know that you have a lot of this meeting. So my question for you guys is, how will this decision about 287 affect future businesses? If someone wants to come into this town, but they see that we have 287, that we're all participating in 287G task force, how will that affect the growth of Brownsboro? We already have businesses here that may decide to take their businesses elsewhere if 287G becomes part of Brownsboro's police force. So how will future businesses coming into Brownsboro be affected by this? Sorry. Sorry. That's cool. But it's already been said. Okay, so the council spoke about wanting Brownsboro to grow, and we do all share that vision. But we all want new families to move here, new businesses to open their doors. Brownsboro is a place to live, work, and shop, where we want to live, work, and raise their children. Decisions like this shape how the community is perceived. If this policy causes family and business owners to look elsewhere, even in small numbers, that will affect their future. I believe that. It's somewhere in here. But basically, I believe as a Brownsboro citizen that 287G would affect our community, but we also should not let our officers be taken from our community to do the job of federal officers. That's basically what I think.
Hi, my name is Sam Douglas. I am a resident of Denver, but I do have kids that go to Brownsboro. I work for Brownsboro ISD, and I just want to talk about what this law will do to my family. Sorry if it's a little bit emotional, but I have seen what is done in Tyler, and as my kids, I have two adults that drive, and once this law went into effect in Tyler, I actually forbade them to go to Tyler. I told them any businesses that they have to do in Tyler for them to do it in Athens instead, because I just told them that was a little bit safer for them. They look Hispanic. They were born here, but they do look Hispanic, because of course I am. And it has brought fear into my family. We don't travel to Tyler as much as we used to. We try to stay in Chandler. We try to stay in Brownsboro, in Athens. We do have to have this conversations with them about, if we get pulled over, what to expect, that it might look different, as it did in the past, where you will get pulled over, like you said, for a traffic stop or not having a light on. And you will get you do get asked, for your driver's license, your insurance, that kind of stuff. But we do tell them, I am a DACA recipient, so I do have a work permit to be here legally. I've had it for 15 years. But my immigration lawyer told me we are at high risk of getting arrested if we get pulled over, even though we have a legal, we have a legal paper saying that we're here legally. So we had this conversations with them about if we get pulled over and if we get taken, this is the people you talk to, this is who's gonna come pick you up. This is our safe spot. Brownsboro, Chandler, it's the one place where I can actually go out with them. We go to the park, we go to restaurants, we do things, we come to the school games, and I feel safe. I know that if I see a police officer, I know he's there to protect me. I don't feel that way, Tyler. If I see a police officer behind me, I get kind of fast. I have to pull over, I have to take deep breaths. I mean, it just brings fear. That's what it does. It does not make me feel any safer. I talked to them, when we heard that this law might come into effect in Brownsboro, we had a conversation with them about maybe doing homeschooling, just because I felt that if they're here sometimes they stay after school for football games, for soccer games, they go to the park, they go to the gas station, and I told them, if this goes into effect, I don't feel like y'all gonna be safe. I feel like you might get pulled over or you might get stopped and asked just because of your skin color. And I mean, it's sad that I have to talk to them about this because they are real citizens. They were born here and they shouldn't have to go through that, but they do. And it breaks my heart because I know when they hang out with their other friends that are a different color, they don't have to worry about that. I've even told them, stop speaking Spanish in public places. If you're at the gas station, if you're at the dollar store, if people looking at you funny when you speak Spanish, stop. Only speak English. Because it just makes me feel like we protected them, but it's the wrong way of protecting them. And I know that, but this is what this law does. It brings fear. And I know the money might be good for Brownsboro. I know it might help you all, like we said, to fix the roads, to do things with it, but it might not go the way we plan because people are going to start coming here. They're going to start going places where they feel safe, which is exactly what happened with us in college. We don't want to travel through there. We don't want to stop there. We don't want to go there. And then if we go to appointments, I go to the appointment and I come right back. Because I'm scared. I'm scared to get stopped, and even though I have a driver license, it does say that my driver license, it expires every 2 years because that's what the doctor said. It expires every 2 years and I have to renew it. That way they flag me, saying then that I am not a U.S. citizen, I am not a U.S. citizen, and that if they call it immigration can just say, hey, take her. Just take her. And that is something I've been told from my lawyer, that even though I do have a driver license, that even though my work permit is valid, it has happened. They have taken people with the type of protection that I have. And it scares me. So, I mean, I don't know if the money is going to be good, but this is just something that affects family in different ways. I really hope you vote no. I really hope we can keep this town the way it is. The safe place that it is for me and my family. And I just hope that we can look beyond the money and you can look at the people that this affects. Because it would just break my heart to have to tell my kids what they have to look at for in Brownsboro when they're at the high school, when they stay after a game. I want the police to focus on criminals. I want the police to focus on making sure that they're safe. I don't want them to be immigration. I don't want them to be scared of them. I don't want them to run away from them because they think they're going to be taken away from their families. I want them to run towards them if they are in danger or if they need help. Because that is what a police officer is. They're supposed to be somebody that keeps them safe to protect them. They're not supposed to be fearful of them. So from the bottom of my heart, I just hope y'all vote now for this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a resident of Tyler, Texas, and I spoke for the disabled girl in my own city council. And I'm going to say the same things that I said then. Taking a wild guess at looking at me, I would assume you would think I'm American. No strange accent, speak perfectly good English, white skin, blue eyes, blonde hair. Same as my grandmother, who was an English immigrant. Same as my mother, who was also an English immigrant. My grandmother had a very strong British accent the day she died. Lived in this country for over 50 years. Not a single time throughout my entire life knowing her was she ever asked about her immigration status. Ever. Now, tell me why my cousin, because I am in a family that is very mixed, my cousin, who is part Navajo, has been asked about her immigration status. What is the difference between me and my cousin? She has brown skin, eyes, and black hair. And she's bilingual. So when you sit up there and try to pretend to yourselves that this isn't going to cause racial profiling in your small town, that this isn't going to damage your communities, remember what side of the Union Texas was on? It wasn't on the Union side. It's very obvious that this state in particular has a racism problem, especially considering that the KKK still functions out of Texas, yet they aren't considered domestic terrorists for some weird reason. But the consequences that are going to be suffered from this bill are not going to be suffered by me. It's not going to be suffered by my daughter, and it's not going to be suffered by my niece, who is 9 years old and came to me and asked me, Kat, what's going to happen to my friends if they get taken? Because she is in an integrated school with most of Hispanic friends, and her Hispanic friends, 9 years old, are seeing crying and talking about how their family members are being taken and going missing. One of my neighbors was taken on his way to work. That was over a year ago, and he left a wife with 3 children and no money because he was the working man of the family, and she couldn't afford the $6,000 it was going to take to get a lawyer to free him, a man with no criminal record. This is not going to affect people in my swing. That's sure as heck it's going to indirectly affect me when all my friends and family members who don't have my skin color get taken or taken advantage of. And it is happening all over the country. And I don't want it happening here in my state. I don't want it happening here in these small communities, in these small towns, because as other people have said, this is going to damage you in the long run. You're going to lose money, you're going to lose citizens, and you're going to lose the good people that you're taking from these communities that are actually the reason America actually was becoming great. Because we are the melting pot. Why are we punishing the people that built this nation on their backs?
City Council, my name is Myra. I have grown up here in Brownsboro. I live here. My kids have grown up here. I just want to let you guys know, I think y'all brought this proposition with good intentions. That's what we do. But I did not have good intentions. They do not. And if you can truly tell yourself that you are passing this to the good of the community, you are lying to yourself. You have heard from our community. We do not want this program. This is not what we have done here in this town. This is a peaceful town. Why fix something that's not broken? You know, I think the chief is trying to do his job. He thinks he's doing his job by, you know, helping the police department with more money, getting officers raises, new vehicles. While that sounds like he's doing a good job, his main job is to make our town safe. And he just said it himself. He has not had time to look for grant monies. Why are we adding more stuff to his plate? Why are we adding more stuff to the officer's plate? They're doing a good job now. Why are we trying to break that? We don't need any more problems. We don't need to add big government to our small town. We have been doing just fine without it. So I don't know why this is even a debate. Our community has said we don't want this. Y'all as Brownsboro Council should listen to us. This is Brownsboro Council. This is not your council. This is not what you personally think. This is what's good for our community. And let me tell you, let's focus on the money. Yes, possibly you're gonna get $100,000, and that sounds so lucrative. It does. But I can guarantee you're gonna lose more money if you pass this. People will not stop at our small town businesses. They will skip our town and go get their gas elsewhere. And I will do the same. And, you know, I have documents. But you know what? I cannot stand for something like this. And let me tell you, our community is great with numbers. We will make a dent. And I can guarantee some businesses will close. Is that really what you want? Because that's not what's going to help grow our community. It's not. So let's be honest with ourselves. This is a blatantly racist program. Why would we even consider it? That's not who we are. We said a prayer at the beginning of this meeting. If we truly believe ourselves as Christians, we love our neighbor as we love thyself. Thank you.
Is anybody else that hasn't spoken? You will see. I'm trying to let everybody else.
Hello, I'm so scared I don't leave till all night. And it saddens me and it breaks my heart to hear my friends and neighbors of a different color than I am be scared. Don't look at. Imagine you being too scared to go down to the White House to get something, just because of your skin color. This is not what we want. We are a community that takes care of each other. And I think the money has blinded Chief's eyes. Oh? It has. Money is not going to solve anything. You're going to make a bigger problem. And the mayor has said that it's your decision whether this program continues in Brownsboro or gets started. But he has also said that if the council is not on board, he will not let it happen. And I sincerely hope the council and you, Chief, are listening to this community tonight. What they are saying, we do not want it. We have a government, a federal agency that can take care of this. That is what they were made for. I'm not going to get scared, I'm sorry. But this is wrong. Totally wrong for our city to even consider this. You said that ARC already has this program. Have you talked to anyone in ARC and see how the program has worked for them? And what was your response to the question?
I didn't talk to the chief at all, I talked to the chief for, and he said that nothing else has changed. He has sent his person out to with a task force, and he has not changed anything that they do in the city.
So when they do make it, when they have made a traffic stop, have you spoken to them if asked, contacted, instead of like for a traffic stop, just a minor?
They said they have not changed anything to they do, how they conduct their business in the city.
Is it the same model you're signing up for?
Yes, it is.
Just me sitting here listening, I don't think you have done your due diligence in investigating this. You haven't had really prompt answers to some of the questions that people have asked. And I just think it's a bad idea all along. I don't know what else to say. I pray for our city, and I thank our council members for doing this, but please, please, council members, listen to the citizens. We,
myself, do not want this or need this in our city. I don't care what the money is. And I think that's, they say money is the root of all evil. I think that's what we're looking at. It's the carrot that's been dangled out in front of all these law enforcement agencies. Oh, get this, and we're going to get X amount of money. Take into account all these people that are here, their lives that could be impacted by this. I'm sorry, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that has spoken that wants to?
Hello, my name is Sarah Garcia. So I'm here tonight because the 287G program agreement sounds like a small piece of paper, but it is not. It's a position that will change what we used to call police Brownsville, Brownsville Police for Help. Right now, if something happens to you, a car accident, a medical emergency, you call the police and you get help. Under a 287G agreement, that same officer is also functioning as an immigrant agent. That means every 911 call becomes a risk, calculating for immigrant families in this town, whether they're here illegally or not. Whether the call is about them or not. Victims stop reporting crimes, witnesses stop coming forward, and then that happens to every single person in Brownsville is less safe, not just immigrants. Criminals count on silence. This program Let's talk about who's actually going to do the work. Our officers are trained to police Brownsboro. They're not trained for immigration attorneys or under 287G. They don't need to be. They're deputized to make immigration determinations for the corrections of detaining and unfit. And none of this is like the officers are supposed to have. That's not enforcement. Sorry, nervous. And the people who pay for mistakes are our neighbors. And then there's the money. These programs are marketed at Southern Washington. From the record on that line is clear. Local governments eat the liable legal lawsuits for training costs. The staff was pulled off extra local policing. Nobody has shown that this council a raw number for what's walking into that liability cost. Brownsville taxpayers, and so someone does approving this, writing a blank check with our police department credibility is collateral. This is a small town. We know each other here. We built trust between this community, this police department, and one direction at a time over the years. A 287 agreement can undo that trust. And a single afternoon. Do you know that this was sports model of the program was to continue a few years ago? A few years ago, because of the racial profiling it caused. It was also brought back last year. One mistake, and it will take years to rebuild that one back up right 2 seconds. I'm asking this council not to trade what makes Brownsville work. Trust, safety, accountability for a federal program that offers this town nothing but this. Say no.
Anyone that has not had a chance to speak that chooses to? Got a hand.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say, I honestly didn't think I was going to get up here to talk, but someone touched on something briefly earlier. And he said when he got stopped, he loved he could speak English to communicate with the police. My dad is a permanent resident here.
He's hard of hearing, he has to wear hearing aids, and he does not speak any English. God forbid that he gets stopped here in Brownsboro. What's gonna happen to him? If you can't hear, if you can't understand? Are they gonna see him as a threat? That's just something that I don't even want to have a chance to happen here. If y'all pass this, there's a possibility that I couldn't have a baby. Worst comes to worst. And that's a reality for some people. Like a lot of the things that have been happening in Houston. Like I got to go to the Target. And he got shot, his never lost everything. Just because he was afraid. I know my dad was scared he got shot. I just don't think that this is something that we should be bringing here. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else that I can't really do to see? Where's your girl?
I love Brownsboro, my kids going to school at Brownsboro, and I'm so proud when I say my kids going to school at Brownsboro. I got a medical pharmacy, I even here and 2 girls on the corner. And I'm so proud of Brownsboro. But let me tell you this. You can people say only that Spanish people, they not. They have that hard Brownsboro city. Me, something goes the family thing is on his side. Because Jesus don't have a color. Jesus is the spirit. Thank you. That's only what I want to say.
Anybody else? Raise your hand high. I want to give everybody a chance to speak. Okay, that's it. We know we're going to put to the work we do.
If you get rid of all the Mexicans, who's gonna go and read that for you? I know you are. So why do you saying you say outside of the summer? You see Mexicans saying that all of the sign. Who's gonna build the new gas stations, the new schools? It's the immigrants.
Racist comment to say.
This is. This is true. Mexicans do a job that white people don't want to do.
Anybody else that has not had a chance to speak? I want to make sure everybody has a voice.
Before I looked at people's jail project, I learned from a serious county of this all my life. Over the past year, our organization has witnessed firsthand how local law enforcement agencies in county jail are increasingly being drawn into the federal immigration enforcement. Late racist profiling has become the foundation of nuisance traffic stops and other alleged infractions that become the gateway to detention and in many cases to deportation. As the distinctive between local police and federal immigration enforcement continue to blur, many community members no longer know whether a routine traffic infraction with the local law enforcement could ultimately result in into a detention or removal of their country. This is uncertainty that has created a climate of fear that discourages victims of reporting crime. unreasonable searches and seizures, while the 14th Amendment guarantees due process and equal protection under the law. The Texas Constitution likewise protects due course of law and guarantees equal rights. These protections all apply regardless of person's immigration status. Equally concerning is the increase of racial profiling. Decisions made on a person's race, ethnicity, language, accent, surname, and the perceived immigration status erodes public confidence and raises a significant equal protection concern. These practices carry a significant fiscal implications for local government. Prosecution challenges alleging unlawful detention, civil rights violations, discriminatory policy may result in costly litigation under the federal civil rights law. Even when cities ultimately prevail, defending these cases requires quite a bit of taxpayer funding expenditures of outside counsel, litigation costs, investigation, staff time, insurance claims, and potential settlements and agreements. As elected officials, stewards of public resources, you both have a legal and a fiscal responsibility to ensure the city policy respects constitutional rights, protects the public's trust, and use any unnecessary legal exposure. Public safety is served when every resident, regardless of immigration status, feels safe reporting crimes, serving as a witness, seeking emergency services, and protecting local law enforcement without the fear of a routine infraction that would lead to a family separation or deportation. And I know I submitted also in the public comments, a sheet where it says, under the two, under the passport agreements in Smith County, where the lines are blurred. Where does local law enforcement and ICE begin? Lines are blurred. And this is an actual case out of Smith County. Great story. A 45-year-old man who lived in the United States for over 28 years. He was a business owner, a father of 4 U.S. citizen kids with no criminal background. Ready to see a call from 2 of his employees on October the 1st, 2025. The employees have been pulled over by a Smith County Sheriff's deputy. Unable to communicate with deputies who do not speak Spanish, the employees called Ray for help. The deputy took the phone and asked Ray to come over and translate for his employees. Without a second, Ray immediately drove over to the scene to help the sheriff deputy communicate with his employees. When he drove over, Ray had no idea that his simple acts of trusting law enforcement would shatter his whole life and rip him away from his family. The deputy called ICE, and all 3 were detained. And unfortunately, Ray has been deported now, and his family has been impacted. And there's nothing that's going to bring him back to the United States. This is what Task Force One does.
Okay, is there anybody else that wants to speak? I started with one thing. I think everybody knows the Statue of Liberty statue that was there to welcome immigrants coming over to the U.S. This is a nation since its inception that was built by immigrants and for immigrants up to a certain point. At the bottom of the Statue of Liberty on the pedestal, there is a plaque with a poem titled The New Colossus by Emma Rogers. And here is how that poem ends. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breach free, the wretched refuge of the teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my hand beside the golden door. America has been at the door for centuries. Let it continue to be at that golden door. Do not close that door and panic that.
We want to thank the council and you for listening to the
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? And the clerk can close it. So this is not a far from here. Chief could have done this unilaterally. Just, but he does answer the council, so he gets longer. And Chief and I have had several conversations about this. And I fully believe that he saw the money because the money that's promised is good. And he already had the bond. And when he showed me the numbers, I thought, yeah, that would be great. But I was out in Iowa. I mean, I can't support it. I feel what everybody's saying. So, thank you. And, but I wanted everybody to have a voice, but, the money would be great. And even if they do everything that they promise, I can't have young people because they're worried about moving around their town. And even, thank you. So even if that isn't how it would actually be, because I don't believe it would be. I don't believe it would change how chief policing is. That doesn't change how it's perceived by all of you from us. And I see that here as a middle-aged flag, right? So I can't know what y'all have to go through, okay? But I'm listening. So as much as I would love the money, I'm not going to do it at the expense. I'm not going to support it at the expense of our citizens. Well, yeah, this is thank you. So number 3 on here is the part I started out there, and that's discussion about council regarding partnership. So this is where the council has an opportunity to, if y'all so choose.
Most of you know me, my neighbors, and, my question, and then burned into my heart through this whole discussion is the money at what cost, and I can't, in good conscience, put any of my neighbors on line for any dollar amount. I don't care if it's $1 million or $2 million, we're people, we're humans, and we have to get back to that. There's too much division nationally, worldwide, and I don't want to down for it. And
I feel what you said. So about the action. Tonight, I had mixed feelings, but I was standing in the book on your side because I know you sit on your side, doing your life. Some of you in this room. And I try to do my best every day. But there are things we need to do better. And that's being able to work together and communicate together. But guess what? I can't let this go by. I can't let this happen. And I'm not for it. And believe me when I tell you, she didn't bring this up because he wanted to support young people. Like he did. Okay, he was looking at an opportunity to get training and equipment for his officers. Okay, so please don't pile on chief because it is not why he started this whole process. He started this process because he wanted to, again, the care I'll talk about the day with the front of us. I mean, it's very impressive, especially for a community our size in the small budget that we have. So I wholly believe that chief did this, not wanting to alienate Hispanics, not wanting to police the community differently, but simply because it's a lot of resources that we could really use.
where this doesn't have to happen. So there's very much out there. There's many people in this room who already said they're getting their own right to grant.
Yeah. And we're working on it. This is the implementation.
Sheets, they can change their mind. Tonight, that's clear. From
Yes, ma'am. All I was trying to do is help the city, help the money.
So there will be no things for this to go to vote on big time.
Okay. So this is an official meeting, so I do actually need a motion to adjourn. About this, do I have a second? Adjourn. Okay, 3 hours, 0 minutes, 0 0
Bueno, la junta ha terminado y después de 2 horas y 56 minutos, obviamente el Consejo de la Ciudad ha decidido que no va a haber una votación para ingresar al programa 287G después de escuchar a toda la comunidad hablar al respecto, historias personales, la abogada Belinda Arroyo también hablando sobre todo esto. Pues han decidido que esto no se va a tomar en cuenta. Y pues bueno, vamos a ver qué es lo que dicen. Belinda, you got a second? Creo que en este momento, pues bueno, la ciudad de Brownsboro está haciendo un poco de historia también, uniéndose a otras ciudades que han negado. So we're live, doing a live. Can you do just a quick,
Oh, sure.
what you think about the results today?
Yeah.
All right, so. Ok, eso está la abogada Belinda Arroyo. Belinda, obviamente 3 horas de escuchar
Sí.
a la gente. No sé si habías experimentado una junta tan larga como el día de hoy. Una reunión con mucho sentimiento. Miramos la preocupación de la gente, residentes de aquí de Brownsboro y de ciudades cercanas. ¿Cómo miraste el resultado? ¿Y crees tú que realmente sabían ellos lo que significa unirse al programa 287G?
Yo creo que cuando una comunidad como esta viene y habla con sus líderes, ellos pueden oír y pueden entender que esto afecta a mucha gente. Yo creo que es tan bonito mirar la comunidad. Miramos a personas que han vivido aquí toda su vida, sus hijos, gente de las escuelas, viniendo y hablar con los líderes y que ellos oigan. Y yo creo que eso es tan importante en comunidades pequeñas como estas, porque estas son personas que se miran todos los días, ¿verdad? Van a sus restaurantes, van con sus niños a la escuela y ellos oyendo cómo nosotros como hispanos nos sentimos cuando la policía está haciendo o pensando hacer estas cosas. Yo creo que eso abrió los ojos de ellos, que ellos no quieren ser parte de eso. Ellos no quieren que su comunidad tenga miedo y eso era tan importante y yo creo de veras que esto no iba a pasar sin la comunidad de Brownsboro juntarse hoy y hacer que ellos oyeran como ellos se sintieran. Yo creo que si estás en otra comunidad pequeña que está pensando en hacer esto, tienen que juntarse y tienen que ir a hablar con sus líderes, porque esos líderes comen en sus restaurantes, van a la escuela con ustedes, son maestros, son personas que los conocen y si oyen de ustedes, eso va a cambiar cosas en estas comunidades.
Belinda, para mí fue impresionante escuchar las voces de estudiantes de la
Qué
escuela, de
bonito.
personas jóvenes que realmente empezaron a escuchar historias de otras personas y se pusieron en sus zapatos, a lo mejor sin pensar. Una de las últimas jóvenes que dijo, quizás yo nunca lo pensé, mi papá es residente de Estados Unidos, pero no puede escuchar muy bien, no habla el idioma también, entonces, ¿cuál es el riesgo? Y creo que también abrimos los ojos de otros latinos que a lo mejor muchas veces, porque tienen un estatus legal, no saben lo difícil que otros también lo tienen, ¿no?
Pues yo creo que lo que pasó en Houston es tan triste para tanta gente que abrimos los ojos, que nosotros nomás mirándonos cierta manera o sus papás que no hablan inglés, en que son residentes, si los tratan de parar, a lo mejor no oyen, a lo mejor no entienden algo, pueden llegar a un fin y es tan triste y eso nos da mucho miedo que eso está abriendo los ojos de la comunidad, de los jóvenes, que esto puede ser mi papá, esto puede ser, mi amigo, puede ser alguien que hasta tenga estatus legal. ¿Qué si la persona en Houston había sido alguien que tenía estatus legal? No, eso no debe de importar. Yo creo que especialmente los jóvenes están empezando a tener un voz, a decir que nosotros no queremos eso.
Obviamente, alguno de los miembros de lo que es el Consejo de la Ciudad dijo, yo no sé lo que se siente estar en esta situación. Obviamente, son todos anglosajones, entonces sí, realmente creo que hay una barrera del entendimiento, ¿no? En cuanto a qué es lo que le pasa por la mente a un hispano, ¿no?
Son conversaciones difíciles, de veras, hablar de cómo uno que no se mira como ellos se siente con la policía, se siente cuando los están parando. Son de veras conversaciones difíciles. ¿Usted cómo va a saber que alguien es inmigrante si no se miran como inmigrante? ¿Quién se mira como un inmigrante? Cosa difícil hablar y eso, pero tenemos que hablar de estas cosas, pero porque eso es lo que está pasando. Yo como abogada en todo East Texas estoy mirando paradas de policía por razones que yo no puedo defender. Tienen que ser porque se miran cierta manera y manejan ciertas cosas y eso sí es malo que estemos haciendo en este país, especialmente en Texas donde hay tantos hispanos.
Eso fue algo que se trató de hacer en un momento y dijeron no queremos hacerlo. Era cuestionar quién, simplemente por la apariencia física en esta junta era legal y era ilegal y dijeron ellos no queremos hacer eso. Pero esa es la realidad, Bel. Esa es la realidad de un hispano, aún teniendo residencia y ciudadanía. El color y la apariencia sí está afectando cómo somos tratados.
Pues eso es la razón que digo que estas conversaciones son difíciles, pero tenemos que tenerlos. ¿Quién tiene miedo? ¿Quién está parando la policía? Y la realidad es que sí está pasando. Yo lo estoy mirando todos los días. Y yo creo que como dice la Biblia, cuando traes cosas a la luz, el oscuro tiene que quitarse. En que estas conversaciones son difíciles de cómo los hispanos se sienten con la policía ahorita y cómo los están parando, tenemos que tener estas conversaciones porque trae las cosas a la luz y posiblemente muchos de estos miembros del City Council no sabían estas cosas y ahora sí.
Y fue bonito mirar este cuarto lleno mayormente de hispanos que obviamente perdieron el miedo y vinieron a que sus voces fueran escuchadas, legalmente o indocumentados, como los quieras, y no sabemos el estatus de cada uno, pero que la comunidad hispana esté saliendo
Yo me quedé tan sorprendida. Brownsboro, yo no he mirado otra ciudad tan pequeña salir como ellos salieron. Yo vine desde mi oficina en Dallas porque dije, tengo que decir algo, no quiero que esto pase, pero cuando llegué dije, pues aquí ni me necesitan. Tan inteligente, tan listos para hablar con los líderes y esto es lo que necesitamos ver en cada comunidad, que la gente se educa de lo que está pasando, que tengan una voz, que no tengan miedo y muchos tienen estatus legal y hasta eso todavía tienen miedo y están viniendo y haciendo esto. Mirar esto en Brownsboro es una maravilla, es tan bonito. Cada comunidad necesita juntarse y empezar a hacer eso y voy a dejarlos con esto. La gente en Cherokee County, estoy hablando directamente con ustedes. Ustedes tienen un gran problema ahí. Estamos mirando muchos arrestos, mucha actividad que no debe de estar pasando. Estamos mirando gente ser detenida por cosas muy pequeñas y tienen que levantar su voz o esto va a seguir. Con eso los dejo. Tenemos mucho poder cuando nos juntamos y hablamos con nuestros líderes, especialmente en estas comunidades pequeñas. Nosotros somos parte de estas comunidades. Toda la gente que estaba aquí, casi todos se conocían. Tenemos que usar ese poder para hablar con nuestros líderes.
Randy, muchísimas gracias por tomar el tiempo de venir. Yo sé que tienes una agenda muy apretada, especialmente con todo lo que está pasando en el tema migratorio. Viniste desde Dallas a tomar ese tiempo. Son 3 horas que estuvimos en esta junta desde muy temprano. Antes de que te vayas, tenemos que ver el otro lado de la moneda también.
pero aún el otro lado de la moneda estuvo en contra. O sea, estamos hablando de los anglosajones, los pocos anglosajones que estuvieron y hablaron, todos en contra de cómo esto quebraría una comunidad que dicen ellos, yo los he visto, yo los conozco, yo he crecido y no puedo aceptar esto. Impresionante, es una de las palabras de la comunidad anglosajona.
Era tan bonito ver, porque en nuestras comunidades pequeñas todos están juntos. No es una comunidad donde quieren estar en contra de uno al otro. Se conocen, se miran todo el día. Era tan bonito ver que la gente vino y soportó algo que de veras no les iba a afectar a ellos. Pero ellos miraron que sí me va a afectar porque estos son mis amigos, son las personas que voy a la escuela con ellos. Era tan importante ver esas personas aquí también estando en contra de eso.
Gracias, Belinda. Preguntaban, alguien que me diga dónde está, quién es la abogada. Te dijo que por favor digas ahí, preséntate y contactos porque estamos.
Sí, mi nombre es Belinda Arroyo. Soy una abogada, tengo oficina en Dallas y en Tyler y he estado practicando las leyes de inmigración por 20 años ahorita. Y sí le digo que esto es lo peor que yo he mirado esto. Estamos en muy mala situación y tenemos que seguir peleando comunidad a comunidad a traer estas cosas a la luz.
Contacto, ¿dónde se pueden comunicar contigo? Porque preguntan.
Me pueden buscar en Facebook, Belinda Arroyo Law Office, y tenemos también el número de teléfono 214-631-3500. Si yo no te puedo ayudar, conozco muchas abogadas en diferentes lugares y les doy el contacto.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias. Yes. We'll take the mic from you, record. Oh, thank you. Bueno, ahí está la abogada Belinda Arroyo. Nosotros terminamos en este momento. Obviamente ha sido una noche bastante larga, pero ahí está la decisión. El chief de policía ya aclaró que obviamente él no sabía las consecuencias de entrar a un programa, y eso es parte de las conversaciones que siempre hemos dicho se necesitan hacer, se necesitan informar, y qué bueno que la comunidad de Brownsboro, pues el día de hoy se presentó, dieron sus testimonios, dieron su punto de vista y dieron lo que es ser un latino en este momento en Estados Unidos, aunque tengamos un estatus legal en este país, sabemos lo que es en este momento enfrentar obviamente a la policía y a aquellos que están en estos programas de 287G y el miedo que aún sentimos como latinos por el color y por no, obviamente, ser el estereotípico blanco en este país. Así que, pues bueno, aquí está nuestra cobertura. Gracias a ustedes por seguirnos. Sé que fue una junta bastante larga. Vamos a tratar de traer más actualizaciones en estos temas y, como dijo la Belinda, el condado Cherokee está en el mismo problema. Ahí ya se ha obviamente implementado y se ha adoptado la 287G, pero también estaremos dando seguimiento a eso. Así que les agradecemos por acompañarnos en esta noche, una larga noche de cobertura desde Brownsboro, Texas.
¿Necesitas carro hoy, pero el crédito te detiene? En Méndez Auto Sales te ayudamos. Compra aquí y paga aquí con aprobaciones fáciles, pagos accesibles y carros listos para manejar hoy mismo. 2022 East Gentry Parkway en Tyler o llama al 903-597-4314. Méndez Auto Sales. Buenos carros, buena gente y financiamiento fácil.
Cuando tu familia más te necesita, no deberías tener que preocuparte por nada más. En United Funeral Home caminamos contigo en cada paso del camino. Paquetes completos desde $6,800. Cremación directa desde $785. Video memorial incluido. Personal bilingüe. Aceptamos todas las pólizas de seguro. United Funeral Home, la dignidad que tu familia se merece.